Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We welcome you here tonight to the first annual ECT St. Valentine's Day Massacre as we get ready to go racing tonight at the high banks of Talladega Superspeedway. It's a special event on Valentine's Day Eve, and we're getting set to see what the drivers from East Coast Thunder are going to bring to the table here tonight. I'm Seth Cole alongside of Jessica Shelton, and Jess, it's got the name Massacre in the name. Hopefully that doesn't hold true, but it is half of what a full-length race would be here at Talladega, 94 laps, so no doubt these drivers have to pace themselves.
Yeah, and with it being an open setup, there's going to be a lot of changes to the track themselves, such as possible up and down with their grill tape. Maybe a little bit of change to see if it'll handle a little bit better, but you said it. Massacre. Look at the people who are in this field. Most of these names are recognizable of the last event that we broadcasted over in BSR under their special event, and we all know toward the end of that how exciting and how important that was to get that win. Even though it was a special event, that was pretty much a massacre as well. But hopefully these drivers won't fall into that category of pushing themselves too quickly to the point of a big massacre early on.
Yeah, we're being treated to back-to-back Saturday nights with races at Talladega. Of course, that earlier event last week was the Polar Bear 200 over at Bomb Squad Racing, and kind of considered maybe having an airborne truck ticker here tonight, because I lost count of many drivers actually visited the upper hemisphere here at Talladega last week. But we'll see if these drivers will be able to mind their P's of Q's. Of course, as well, with the fact we mentioned, it's the first time that East Coast Thunder is doing this special event. And so everybody out there, they want the bragging rights of saying, hey, I won the very first of the special event.
Wait, this is the special event? That's the very first one that we're actually calling for the Massacre for Valentine's? Really?
That's right. Yep. First time that they're doing it. It's their first annual. So this is a debut special event for the league, if you will.
Well, we have familiar faces in this field, Seth, and the most familiar face that we can automatically see is the one starting right there on the pole position, the 37 of Denny Daniels.
Yeah, we've raced with Denny in the past. We know he's really good at qualifying at super speedway, so we were not the least bit surprised to see he's on the pole for this one alongside of Stanley. Pete Sandone's going to be lining up third. He's actually got a really fast truck. He was, I believe, second fastest in practice, third fastest in qualifying. He'll be alongside of Matt Stern in row 2.
From what I can see in practice, Seth, I don't see Sandone up there on the board. I only see Wings and Terry Scott had the top two, and with Nelly in the third position.
I must be remembering from earlier in the session, because I remember he was up actually at the top of the leaderboard at one point, but he'll be third alongside of Matt Stern. Nelly and Monty Keller going to make up row 3. Terry Scott, who you just alluded to, was up there near the top at the end. He's going to be 7th alongside of Dave Little. Billy Elliser and Wings will be the top 10 completion. Brian Lavelle and Magoo, they'll be in row 6. Jeff Crivello and Manny D in row 7. Gary Mingus and Robbie Nicis were the last two drivers to take time. Only 16 drivers in the field took time. The rest of the drivers decided to allow the server to choose where they were going to start. It'll be RJ Rusty and Fergo in row 9. Row 10 will find Corley and Brian Voiles. Stephen and Big Jim, they'll be in the following row, followed by Greg Lavelle, Livingston. I'm going to get these first names here in just a moment, but I'm looking at the current starting lineup. Then it's going to be, I believe, the 95 of John Forgoyne, and he will be followed by Rizzo, Lee Hemler, Navajas, and Jimmy Dale to complete the field. If my calculations are correct, I believe we have 29 drivers that are scheduled to take the green flag here this evening.
And a small correction on your behalf. I'll give you the times for practice, but happy hour it was Big Jim and Robbie Nicis with BSR Steven in the top 3. Sindone took time for happy hour, and he was 7th quickest overall of the 14 drivers who made a lap for time. So.
With the extra laps that are going to be on here tonight, it was 76 laps in the BSR race last week, 94 here tonight. A lot of drivers took the opportunity under that happy hour session to come down pit road, practice green flag pit stops. We'll see if we're going to get a round of those. We didn't really get a round in last week, so we'll see what happens here tonight as the first annual ECT St. Valentine's Day Massacre about to be underway. It's Denny Daniels in that very familiar number 37, leading them down at 75 miles per hour, and the green flag's in the air, and we're underway. Now, one thing we saw that was a trend last week, Jess, obviously a lot of similarities. It's the same track that they drove last week, the same version of Talladega, and we saw the middle line was the line everyone wanted to be in. Drivers that went down to the inside line went down at their own peril and usually didn't make forward progress. So it'll be interesting to see if the same thing holds true here tonight.
Absolutely. I watched them during practice and happy hour. They seemed like they were more of a pack, but that bottom just didn't want to do anything. They were more interested around the middle of the high line to do any passing. But you can rest assured that inside will come in to play eventually, coming toward pit stops and definitely toward the end of this race. They will have no choice but to utilize that bottom and maybe even that third extra higher line when we get all that racing going. Plus, like we announced earlier when we were having a discussion about the race itself, we know for a fact that these drivers have one specific lap besides the finish of this race to go for. I mean, well, what is this, lap 50 you said?
There is a cash prize on the line for the driver that leads the completion of lap 50. Now, we have been told that due to the fact there is the possibility that lap could be under caution, it actually has to be under green flag conditions that it's led. So if a caution comes out and we are on lap 50, it'll then transfer the prize over to lap 60. If the same circumstances take place, it'll transfer over to lap 70. So these drivers could be planning to race for lap 50 and end up chasing that lap 20 laps later.
Yeah, absolutely. But we're also realizing that there is in-game caution. So if, depending on who's a lap down and who's not a lap down, they might not be racing the lap 94 either, Seth. They might be racing, what is it, lap 91? 90?
Yeah, great point. Absolutely. And also when you think about it too, we're pretty familiar with how far you can make it at Talladega on a tank of fuel with the 2X that they have here. And so we're looking at about 4 pit stops these drivers are going to have to make tonight. The odds are in favor of at least one of those being under green flag conditions, but it just seems like at Talladega, no matter what league it is, you get close to that horizon when these drivers have to start thinking about coming down pit road. That's when a wreck happens and all these drivers are saved and get to pit under yellow.
Absolutely, and they try to jostle so much for position and gain that track position leaving pit road to get them in that safe little net for when they leave. But lap 18 to 20 is what I would expect what we'll be looking at for green flag pit stops around that area. Wouldn't you agree?
I think that's around where the projected area is, yes. As we're looking at the inside line, now they haven't really made up ground, but they've kind of stayed where they're at for the last 2 laps or so. That's Pete Sindone leading the inside line. Billy Ellis are behind him, then a bit of a gap till you get back to Jeff Crivello in the 56. If this inside line is going to make any forward progress at all, they have got to have themselves a tight draft. They can't be as spaced out as they are right now.
Absolutely. If you look at the high side, there's a gap where Dave Little in the 83 is, and that gap is allowing that inside to get the advantage in these corners.
Now, one driver that has been having some side-to-side issues ever since we went green is second place Stanley. And you've got to wonder, it doesn't look too bad right now, but obviously that's got to be hindering the third place truck of Nelly wanting to get up there right to his back bumper for fear of bumper grab.
Accordion bump back there with Brian Lavelle. Sorry, Seth.
And they keep it going. That, I believe, was the 66 of Terry Scott that was in the middle of that chain bumping. And you could see he had to bail out of the throttle, as did Lavelle. And now that allows Billy Elliser to jump up to that middle line. So that kind of saved a few drivers that might have not wanted to be on the inside to make their way up to the top line.
It looks like that inside wants to move up and try to take over the same real estate as that middle line, which we've commented that over the past several weeks, along a couple of months, that everyone wants that same real estate. And it looked a little bit like that inside line was making some forward progress, as we see Brian Boyles right behind RJ Rusty. We know what Brian Boyles likes to do on that inside line.
If we know Brian Boyles, it doesn't matter if it's Daytona, it doesn't matter if it's Talladega. He likes to have that truck right down there on that inside line, whether he's got friends or not. And right now, he and the two trying to work together on that low line. Looks like they've also got somebody else behind him. I believe that is the 95 of Jeff Burgoyne, who actually did not take time and started way back in the field, I believe, in the 26th position. So.
Seth, I want to bring to your attention, I'm not sure what the issue is. I'm just scrolling around the field here. Burko is now going into turn 1. Wings is now into turn 2. Not too far ahead of Burko. And then you got the 20 of Corley. He's now at the start-finish line. It just seems like these guys are way back. They either lost the draft or something happened that we didn't see.
In the case of Michael Corley, I think he may have lost the draft. It's scoring right now, the 31 of Wings and the 19 of Furco -1. My assumption is they probably missed the start. So they'll obviously be hoping for a caution. And, oh, that inside line, all of a sudden, they've got a big push. As now Pete Sindone jumped down to help Rusty and Voiles and Burgoyne, and they are making some headway through
3 wide.
That's Manny D stuck in the middle, the bright yellow 710. Hard to tell who that is that was forcing the issue 3 wide down there. I think that might have possibly been Lee Hemler in the 011.
I guarantee you, Furco will reach you like, keep going, please, please.
They would love to see a yellow flag come out right now here and save their chances of being put another lap down, because if we continue to run under green, there's no doubt with those 2 trucks running all by themselves, it's not going to take all that long for this pack to reel them in and put them a second lap down.
Watching the front, looks like a lot of these drivers from the high side are starting to duck to the bottom now. I watched Magoo off of turn 2 stuff, and he was right up against the wall. A little of the other drivers are kind of running like a half a lane lower, but Magoo was right up against the wall. I'm not sure whether that's just to get a run off.
Oh, blown up! Right in the middle of the pack.
Yellow is out.
Got Manny D spinning to the apron, and several other drivers come flying in as running in 3rd position on that top line. The engine expired on the 103.
There's that caution that Furco and Wings needed right there.
Absolutely, and more often than not, it's those type of issues you see in open setup races. The grill tape may have been set just a tick too high on that 103. Obviously was getting tremendous draft. Would have obviously been spiking up the water temperatures, and what a tough break. I mean, we're only 9 laps into this 94-lap event, and just like that, the 103 and maybe others, their hopes of winning this race could be up in smoke. It is moderate damage, but I saw some pretty hard shots being taken right there.
The only one who has officially retired has been Nelly in the 103 due to the blown engine stuff, but I mean, it's moderate damage. I mean, I don't know how bad the 043 of Ryan Lavelle was. I mean, it didn't look like he had a lot of damage on his machine. It looked like he might have got a little bit of a ding, but there was just a lot of mayhem there. I mean, especially when it's up near the front like that, there's nothing you can do. You hope that's toward the back or on the bottom where they can get out of the way, or if they hit the wall, they stay up at the wall. But when you have a straightaway at that position, that point of this track, nothing you can do.
And the big thing about it, too, is when you're at a super speedway and there's no warning that the engine's going to go, it's not only a surprise for the drivers behind, but also a surprise for the driver that's happened to. It's not like you can all of a sudden realize, oh, I'm blowing up, let me get out of everybody's way, because the decrease in speed is so rapid. And you saw he had Matt Stern right on his back bumper, so there's just no time for reaction.
And like we were saying, I'm not sure what their policy is with lap cars, if it's only going to be 1 or 2 getting the lucky dog or not, Seth. But one person I would say was Michael Corley in the 20.
Now, the one driver that I was looking at that I think might have a bit of an issue that came flying in, I believe, is the 12 of Gary Mingus. We're going to focus on his truck, as I think he was just trying to make his way through the smoke, and he got somebody pretty good with the front end of his truck right there. I think that might have been the 088. Oh, then he went down and got the inside wall with Manny D. So we know that moderate damage, you can come back from it, even if you've got some damage. As long as you're in the draft, you can even still be up to speed. But when you make impact to that front end, a lot of times it's a question mark of which side of the spectrum is it on. Is it on the side where it'll still be okay in draft, or are you pretty much done as far as your straightaway speed?
The 83 of Dave Little has retired as well, Seth.
I don't remember seeing him get involved in the wreck. We'll see if we can double check on that. I don't recall seeing him involved, unless there was something that happened afterwards that we didn't see, but we'll try and follow up there on the 83, as that'll be 2 drivers prior to 10 laps in that would be out of today's event. And yeah, looking at it right now, I don't see that 83 involved at all. A little confused of why Dave Little would be out of this race.
Let's see. He goes into turn. Let's see. He retired on lap 9, didn't he?
Yeah, okay, so no need to really show the replay. He just kind of made the left-hand turn to pit road when most other drivers were coming to pit lane, just pulled into his pit stall and then took it to the garage area. So kind of left with no real explanation of why he ended up retiring out of the race, but looks like it was more by choice than it was by going down there and having damage and having to retire out of the race because of that. So it looks like Robbie Nisus is going to stay out. See if this is something that we see Robbie Nisus do quite a bit, where he'll stay out and lead a lap or two and then come to pit road with the 1 to green, trying to get that extra edge under caution as far as fuel if we go into a long green flag run. Like Denny Daniels with having that number 1 pit stall, he's going to currently be lined up in second with Brian Voiles, Pete Sindone, and Jeff Crivello. They're going to be the top 5. Another driver was actually a lap down, it looks like. I don't know if this was prior to or after the caution, but the 0-11 of Lee Hemler, currently marked -1, along with Wings and Furco that we documented earlier. So we'll have to wait and see who indeed actually does get the lucky dog when we go back green.
And we know that Robbie Nisus loves being up near the front. He usually stays out an extra couple laps depending on the deal with the lap. So seeing him up front during the caution, not really a surprise effect here, but I want to point out that Billy Alliser. Have you noticed that the last race that we had for broadcast over BSR, the Polar Bear? I mean, I want you to think about this. He was up front that whole time before that wreck toward the end of that race. So I'm wondering what Billy might be thinking. I mean, remember, it was the same track. So I'm wondering what he's got under his hood and what he's thinking right now tonight, because he's been up near the front a little bit. So he's trying to make that forward progress work already.
Certainly has. And, obviously with broadcasting weekly the RTG Tally Challenge, we've seen Billy Alliser is a very good super speedway racer, has a win over there this season as well. As you said, performed well in the Polar Bear 200 last week and running well here again as well. I think the big thing about Billy Alliser that we've kind of seen improve as we've watched him over time is his ability to position himself in the line that is moving to make that forward progress, and then he's able to keep himself up there. So, yeah, I agree with you. Keep an eye on that 87. He'll be up here this whole race, I think. So, Denny Daniels is going to choose the top side there on Brian Voiles. And, yeah, we just got confirmation there that apparently David Little came to pit road of his own fruition, and he'll be finishing out the St. Valentine's Day Massacre 26th. Nelly will finish in 25th. And those two drivers will not make it to the conclusion of this race. We're still waiting to see about those lucky dog drivers. Now, there's two ways that drivers get lucky dogs. There are leagues where they end up having the lap car come around, pass the pace car, and then get their lap back that way. Other leagues, they'll wait until they go green, and then they'll manually add the lap back. Looks like that actually might be the case right now. So we'll update you when these drivers cross the line. We may have to wait a lap to find out indeed who the driver is that gets the lucky dog, but when we get to that point, we'll let you know exactly how many trucks we officially do have on the lead lap. As we'll give a quick top 10 rundown here. It's Denny Daniels who's going to be the leader. Brian Voiles now second. Pete Sindone in third. Jeff Crivello and RJ Rusty will complete the top 5. Billy Alliser in sixth. John Fregoyne, he passed a lot of trucks there on that first run. I think he passed 19 trucks. He's up to 17th or 7th. Wow, that was good. Up to 7th. Let's put him up further than where he is. Monty Keller in 8th. Big Jim is in 9th. That's another driver that worked his way up quite a ways in the field on that run. And 10th completion will be Terry Scott. Right now, we've got 21 drivers scored in the lead lap again. A couple of drivers think will be getting, at least one of them will be getting the free pass when we go back green. Still, the lights are out atop this pace car here just as well. I mean, I think they've run now 3, maybe going on to 4 laps under
a couple
pacing.
More coming into pit road here too.
Going to top off the fuel tank. And
I do want to point out something that I'm trying to wrap my brain around here, and let me pick yours, see if we can figure out this issue. So we're coming to starting the next lap, which would be lap 13, right?
Right.
Now, remember, the fuel window is 18 to 20.
Mm-hmm.
These guys are pitting now. If they want to keep going, I mean, I see it might be coming down to maybe a half a can to maybe a can stop as a possibility from what I'm trying to think about here. And, I mean, what are you thinking here? Because it looks like, because we ran half. That was about a half of a run right there.
Well, it's
So
interesting
with
you
it being
bring
a
that
half a
up.
run can, maybe half a can if they save, if we have green flag pit stops, which is very hard to predict right now. But, you know, if that case does pop up and we have green flag pit stops, I'm wondering if the pitch strategy is going to start showing.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's wholly optimistic to think that they're going to be able to run the rest of this race under green flag conditions. I don't think that's going to be the case. Just based on the
We
fact
have
that,
seen it happen before.
we have, but it's a special event. You know, I think the aggression is going to kick up when we get the second half of this race. But you know, it was interesting because I was kind of doing some calculations in my head. Those drivers that came down pit road right now, if we assume that they can go that full 20 laps on one tank of fuel, if that is indeed the furthest they can stretch it, and they can do that every single time, some of those guys that just came to pit road might be right on the cusp of being able to make it on those 4 stops we know they're going to have to make, because they were going to be, with 4 stops, about 14 laps short of making it. We're coming to the completion of 13, going on at 14, so we're looking maybe half a lap, 3/4 of a lap that they would be short from this point on if we went green the rest of the way with those 4 pit stops they have to make. Now, again, this is all assuming that we're going to go green to the end. I think there's going to be a couple cautions that are going to split that up.
Oh, I love plate tracks. So you never know.
You don't.
Keep guessing constantly.
It's the beauty of the unpredictability of these type of super speedways.
Now, Denny Daniels restarting on this high side. Remember what we saw the last broadcast race of people who chose that high side? They were able to get out, and we saw a couple of times the winner last week dart down to the bottom to pick up that bottom line and go right back up to that high side. Remember that?
Absolutely, and that driver actually is lined up in the 7th position. We called him ECT Diesel over there, but he goes by John Fregoyne, his actual name over here. So let's see if he's going to be able to go back-to-back and back-to-back Saturdays at Talladega.
Brian Boyles has a really good run starting right here at the very beginning of this restart, Seth.
And the top line did not get formed up. Jeff Crivello was not able to stick with Denny Daniels, so choosing the outside line did not pan out for the 37. A push from Pete Sindone is going to rocket Brian Voiles to the race lead.
And like we have seen, you go from that bottom to that middle line, wanting to control that middle line, because that's where everyone wants to run, is that middle line. But that inside is coming back with RJ. RJ's down there now.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot more competitiveness here early on tonight on that inside line than we really saw the entirety of last week's race. And I don't know if that's because maybe grip levels are slightly different here. It also could be for the fact that we've got a lot more drivers that seem to be willing to go down to that inside line. It's about 6, 7, 8, 9 cars all lined up on that inside line as opposed to 3 or 4 we saw last week.
Manning pushed up a little bit right there. Had to check up that bottom just a tad bit. That's going to give a little bit of a gap here behind BSR Big Jim, Seth.
Yeah, you can see huge distance now, 2.5, 3 car lengths. We'll see if that's going to hurt that inside line, which was about 6 or 7 cars. It's now 5, and you can clearly see by the time they got to turn 3, that inside line is losing its momentum as Voiles and Sindone, they're going to clear to first and second.
Daniels, contact back here, the 22, and oh my God,
wow,
almost airborne.
22 went for a wheelie and landed it. The car up and over was the 54 of Robbie Nisus.
Oh, it just looked like that. It looked like I saw the 22 way up high in that extra third lane I'm guessing that he was trying to fall back, Seth. And there was just no room right coming off of that corner. All of them pushing up just a little bit, which we saw last. We've been seeing that at these play tracks, that they push up a little bit off these corners, and just a little bit of a push up, no room to go. You know, it's just really hard to do that. You have to be careful every single time. You have to manage to know exactly what speed you're going in, what line you're taking, and knowing who's behind you, knowing everyone's speed at every single point. I don't know if Robbie knew that that was about to happen to him or not.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Robbie knew the 22 was still to his outside. It looked like Robbie was also trying to give room to another driver that was ahead of him. See again with another camera angle, but yeah, as we know, with the open setup as well, sometimes the car, or in this case, the truck's going to tighten up, and it almost looked like the 54 just really couldn't turn off of the corner. Now, the 22 went up into the air and was able to land it, doing a kind of a wheelie into that corner. Not sure about the 54 of Robbie Nisus, how much damage he's going to get as he actually did go up and over, as we see right there, onto his side, onto his roof, and then back onto his wheels.
Well,
Again,
I wanted to point out, did these guys, I was wondering, because of the speed and the angle and trajectory, did they have any damage from the first truck?
Well, the 54, I don't think, was involved. I don't think the 22 was either. I think both of these drivers actually did get through the first wreck.
All right, because I thought there was an issue with I thought Robbie Nisus had a little bit of a contact thing. I wasn't really sure if I can remember or not.
Well, if he did, it was minimal, because I don't really remember him being involved in that wreck. We're going to take an onboard here, a wild onboard with the 22.
But you see, when the 22 is right here, the 22 is way up. And like I said, I don't know if he was trying to fall back on purpose, or whether he was like doing what we saw VSR Magoo do earlier, which is try to see if we can get a run off the corner.
Just it's one of those gray areas, isn't it? Really, like, you just don't know if maybe one comes down a little bit or one comes up. Obviously, both cars wanted the same piece of real estate, and one of those situations where it's kind of hard to be able to fault either one of those drivers. It's just a lot of things that we end up seeing at Talladega, especially with that push up off the corner when you try running that inside line. So it looks like the 20 of Michael Corley is going to stay out here. And just an update, we said we would tell you who ended up getting the lucky dog under the last caution. It looks like it actually was the 31 of Wings who got the lucky dog under the last yellow, and Furco should be getting the lucky dog under this caution. So it looks like all 24 drivers that are still running this race will be on the lead lap when we go back green.
And anyone who pits right now to the next lap, this lap or next lap, unless we, get the one to go here, this will be putting them right there in the normal window of pitting too.
Right. Yep, right in where they would be considering making their first green flag pit stop of the day. Going back to there about the Robbie Nisus incident, again, moderate damage is such a deceptive thing, because in that case there with that barrel roll, we've seen drivers that go up and over on their roof. They drive away. You don't really see any visible roof damage, and they're just fine. Other times you end up seeing the same scenario and the driver is way off the pace, as if it's got engine damage and aero damage. So the tough part with the moderate damage scenario is there's such a gray area there that really, until these drivers get up to speed, you really don't know which side of the coin that truck is on, whether it's basically out there just logging laps or if it's still going to be a contender.
And we've seen before in the past in other leagues and other races that we've either competed in or called that you can be a mile, maybe half a mile to a mile an hour, or maybe even a little bit more than that off the pace. No, if they realize that you're off the pace, they're going to leave you out to dry half the time. But, if you get the right person behind you and you stay in line on the bottom, you can actually stay up and be competitive. I mean, you might not be able to pull any cars by yourself, but if you get behind someone and someone's pushing you, you'd be really pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we've seen drivers that are somewhat damaged be some of the best pushers out there at super speedways. I mean, if we look at that onboard when we were on the 22 of Bubba Livingston, we saw that the back bumper cover on the 710 of Manny D is completely gone. While it looks like that would affect him, he still could potentially be up to speed. It's just visual damage that does not affect him speed-wise. So we'll wait and see. We'll try and find out about those two drivers there of Bubba Livingston and Robbie Nisus, if indeed they are still going to be up to speed when we go back green, as still under pacing. We'll wait for the 1 to green signal. So we're going to step aside. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we'll be back here for the green flag as we're working our second caution of the night here in the ECT St. Valentine's Day Massacre at Talladega Superspeedway.
It's a road few dare to travel, a journey filled with danger and unpredictability. So why do we traverse this road? Why do we take such a gamble? Because if we don't try, we'll never know what we could have achieved. That's why we strap in, rev up, and fix our focus on the ultimate prize. Because the reward is well worth the risk. The 2021 NNSCRA Daytona 500, Saturday, February 20th, exclusively on Flatout Racing Network.
ETE Reman is the world's best remanufacturer of transmissions for import and domestic cars and trucks. Based in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, our customers are repair shops, auto parts stores, dealerships, and distributors. And with 6 nationwide warehouses, we're where and when you need us. So when you're looking for a transmission that is like new, only better, instill confidence and install ETE Reman.
It's a road few dare to travel, a journey filled with danger and unpredictability. So why do we traverse this road? Why do we take such a gamble? Because if we don't try, we'll never know what we could have achieved.
Getting ready to go back green here tonight, Talladega in the ECT St. Valentine's Day Massacre. It's going to be Michael Corley and Gary Mingus leading us back to green. And during that commercial break, just we were talking over the fact that these are 2 drivers that actually stayed out under this caution. So they're going to be in a little bit more different of a situation if we manage to go green here on this stint.
Absolutely, and that's what I was trying to figure out is, are these guys actually focused on getting to lap 50, or are they just trying to outsmart everyone else with the 2 wrecks that we've already had? You know, because we saw them early on. They're already getting really racy early on compared to just saving it for the end. I mean, that inside line, we saw it wanting to move.
And that was a really interesting restart there, too. The 20 was way ahead of the 95. 12 of Gary Mingus was able to clear him through 1 and 2. And then here comes the 68 of Brian Voiles. Oh, we're almost 3 wide back here. It looks like John Forgoing wanting to go somewhere, and he tried up the middle, but he couldn't quite get to the inside of Corley. Now it's going to be 3 wide in one of the lightest areas of the track through the tri-oval.
And we've seen countless wrecks over a bunch of different leagues. Always seem to happen right around the tri-oval.
Ravello's now on the bottom with Forgoing in the middle. Mingus up on the top side. Another 3 wide behind them. Oh, and the car in the middle is side to side. I believe that is Stanley in the 05. That's a hairy situation. He now moves up as contact potentially there between the 088 and the 011.
Seth, is this lap 50? Is this the last lap or what? Because they are really forcing it today.
Well, my ticker says lap 21. I don't know what theirs says. Maybe theirs says lap 94, because they're certainly racing like this is the last lap here. Top 4, 5 now get themselves single file. We're still 3 wide back here as no love for Lee Helmer in the 011. Now he gets to the inside as he spent about the last 2 laps stuck in the middle groove.
I'm currently in the back here watching Robbie Nices. It looks like he's somewhat still managing fairly to hold on draft, and it looks like he is sucking up slowly in these corners as they keep going side by side and racing. So he might be okay. The 22 of Livingston, he's still right around nice as he fell back a little bit. So still keep an eye on those guys to see if what happens over the long term. But so far, Nisus is barely hanging on to the draft.
Here come the Lavelles on the inside line. That is Brian currently behind Greg.
Ellis are 3 wide back here. Sorry.
And you also had Greg, I believe that was hitting the apron there through 3 and 4. You don't want to do that, as he's now going to stick Elliser in the middle. Oh, actually, I'm sorry, that's RJ Rusty that's sticking Elliser in the middle. On the top side is the 66, and that is Terry Scott. Looks like they're all going to settle it out, at least for the moment, to double wide through 1 and 2, but
Looks like
this is the Hornets' nest.
Looks like they're going almost 3 wide up there. Looks like that line's a little bit higher up next to that wall. It looks like they want to make it 3 wide again, Seth. With the way they keep running to that corner, it's like they move up a little bit higher up than what they normally would. I'm not sure whether it's just that there's better feel up there or what, but anyway, in the meantime, we see another battle starting to form up near that front.
That's going to be now Stanley in the 0-5 leading the inside line. But again, that side-to-side might be causing a little bit of an issue for the driver behind him of Lee Hemler. He's got Magoo behind him. Then Brian and Greg Lavelle, RJ Rusty on that inside line. Looks like maybe the warp has settled out for the time being for the 0-5. And as soon as they enter the corner, it's back again. Whoa, that's really not going to be good in that battle for 5th place.
Oh my gosh, they keep getting so tight off that corner, Seth. I keep expecting someone to slam into someone else because they just keep pushing up from that bottom, just so slightly. I'm wondering, Brian Voiles, when was the last, did he pit this last time too?
He did, yes. The only 2 drivers we know for certain did not pit under this caution were our front row when we went back green. The 12 of Gary Mingus and the 20 of Corley. And I think we projected that they were probably going to have to come to pit road somewhere now in the next 5 to 7 laps.
Well, if they came in around that time, around lap 9 or 10, they can only make about 20 laps, give or take. So that would be about 30. About 30 to 31, I would imagine, around 30 to 34 probably, Seth.
And I understand, you want to try and do something different, but if you're going to try and do something different, you want to do it with a group of drivers. I mean, if only those 2 drivers end up coming to pit road by themselves, they're going to be in a lot of trouble if we go into a long green flag run.
And you got these guys up here. You've got Stanley up here now, and then you've got, let's see, who else is here? We got Monty Keller. And then you've got Brian Voiles leading this group. That whole group up there is single file.
Yeah, that top
so
4 actually
they're sitting there. They're sitting there controlling this whole line.
They had about, I think it was 4 car lengths of a gap back to 5th place at one point when those 4 trucks were all lined up nose to tail. Now Stanley has latched onto their draft along with Brian Lavelle, but they, for the time being, are certainly controlling this race. The thing that now is going to be interesting is, I'm hoping I'm not jinxing this, but if we do get to that first round of green flag pit stops, are these 4 all in communication with each other of, hey, right now this is working for us. Let's all come to pit road together, and then they've got to execute that pit stop, make sure they all come out together, because right now, if those 4 all stick together, I'm not sure there's an inside line that's going to be able to contend with them.
More cars going to that bottom. It just seems like I'm watching Manny. Manny went to the bottom, went to the top. Manny's just sitting there riding around. It's good to see that he's still in this race, Seth. I mean, he has a little bit of damage on the back end that might be hindering him just slightly, but he's still pretty much in this.
Yeah, not sure if a driver was pushing him, if they could find his rear bumper. You can see it's exposed there. The bumper cover taken off after being involved in an earlier incident, but still up here on the lead lap is that inside line's got 4 drivers. Lee Hemler, Magoo, RJ Rusty, and Denny Daniels. Now add another driver to that. That's going to be Greg Lavelle moving down to the inside. But I don't know what it is, Jess, but all of a sudden that inside line just doesn't seem to have the same gusto it had in the first 20 laps.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether or not they look like they're lined up pretty decently. I just don't think that they've got the numbers to do anything at this moment. Because you see the middle group is where everyone's been at this whole race. So you want to try to get there, but at the same time, everyone wants that, ability to, start passing, start to do something to get these guys out of that top. Because we've seen these past broadcasts. You're up near the front, like, what was it? Wasn't it Diesel last broadcast that led how many
Oh,
laps?
gracious. At least 2/3 of that race. I think, if I remember correctly, it was a 76-lap event, and I think he led 60-plus laps. It was just a dominating performance.
And then we saw Rick Johnson over in the hangover that we had for BSR, New Year's Hangover. He led a great deal of that as well. I mean, is this like a pattern that we're seeing? You're up near the front, you're going to lead the most. I mean, if that's the pattern, these guys on this bottom are trying to make something work to break that pattern so that it doesn't happen again.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting because when we talked with Diesel last week, we asked him about, you were up there leading. If you got shuffled back, did you have a truck that was going to be able to get back up to the race lead? And he said, absolutely. So with it being open setup, these drivers have to have their truck set up for both of those contingencies, being out in clean air and being back in draft. Now, in the case of Brian Voiles out in front here, he's obviously, I think, going to be the one to set the tone of when all the drivers that were on pit road the last time, when they're going to have to come to pit road this time, because he's been out in front for this green flag run. And as we know, that lead truck is going to be using up the most fuel, providing the draft to the others. And just to update there, you talked about the 22 and the 54 of Livingston and Nisus who were involved in the last caution.
They've fallen off.
They have. Now. I don't know if that's due to the damage that they sustained or if that's just that they lost the draft, but yeah, they've fallen 13 seconds off the race.
I do want to point out Gary Mingus back here in the 12 in the Bunny car, and the 20 of the Sony Pictures machine of Corley. He's back here. They're both on this high side, and they're going to have to be pitting very, very soon.
Yeah, somewhere. I don't think they can make it another 5 laps. I'm surprised they haven't tried migrating their way down to the inside line yet. RJ Rusty right now on the inside of the 12, but the 20 of Corley does have a lane down low if he wants it. Now it's going to get filled.
They're checking up a little bit up here on this high side.
And I think that's because of the side-by-side warping again of the 05 of Stanley.
And you see that's opened up a hole in front of them, and someone just jumped up and filled that hole real quickly.
I believe that might have possibly been the 37 of Denny Daniels that jumped up there in front of Brian Lavelle. Now it's going to leave about 4 cars on that inside line. Update on the 2 drivers that missed the start of this race and subsequently started a lap down. You see behind the 2 is the 19 of Furco. Last time by, he was scored in 14th. Wings is on the lead lap as well, currently at the tail end of this group, running in the 21st position. But both those drivers got those 2 early cautions they needed. They are back on the lead lap and in the running for this win.
Oh boy, Corley and Mingus up here. I'm waiting for them to jump to the bottom because there's nothing for them up on this high side, and Ellis is to the inside. Now here comes Manny. Manny's on that inside line now. They got to figure out if they're going to get to the bottom soon or not, because not only will that grab them the draft, that'll also put them in a better position to pit when they actually have to. But running side by side on this high side like this, it's going to be really hard, and they're going to have to fall to the back even further to get an opening spot, so they're going to lose a lot of track position.
And the other thing, too, with the fact that the both of them are the only ones that are going to have to start thinking about coming to pit road, if they get hit with a speeding penalty, then that's going to be even worse for those drivers. I mean, again, as we said last week, when we called the BSR Polar Bear 200, we did not get to see a full round of green flag pit stops. So, for the first time,
we got close.
We did get close. We did get close. But I mean, for the first time in 2 special events, these drivers might be having to think about doing that for the first time. And I think possibly we're going to start seeing that 20 and 12 coming to pit road. It looks like they have now fallen to the back of the pack.
Look at
and
Wings.
I think they're going to be coming in.
Wing is going on by right now. Yep, the 19 and the 20. Yep, there goes. I mean, the 12. Oh my gosh, all the spamming. They're trying to say they're pitting, so they're pitting.
Here comes the 12 of Mingus down pit road.
Whoa.
Ooh, got to get on the brakes there. Oh, I don't think he made it. Oh, there's no way he made it.
Ow. He just slammed it. Oh, God, he's going back across the field, Seth. Back to the infield. Is that going to bring out a caution?
I don't think so. I think we are still under green flag conditions. We are. But that is going to be insult to injury for Gary Mingus. I think Corley might have gotten it down to pit road speed, but I guarantee
he
you
was
the 12
way
didn't.
down towards 70 miles an hour way before the start of the pit road, so I think he's good. But Mingus, I'm very, very, very curious about how much damage he got from hitting that inside wall.
I mean, there is a thing called hot pitting at Talladega where you can hit that commitment line at 70, get it down to 55, and actually still be okay. You can average it out. he was at 105 miles per hour when he hit the commitment line was Mingus. There's no way you can get that thing down quickly enough to average it out. So not only is he more than likely probably going to get a 30-second unsafe pit entry as well with going out into the infield grass, and then he's going to hit with the black flag as well. So that is certainly not what he
Plus, he
needed.
hit that inside pit wall, so he's probably going to
Right.
roll with the damage too.
Well, I don't want to put anything in the back of these drivers' minds, but, you know, in about the next 10 laps or so, they're going to have to think about coming to pit road, and that's some of the struggles they're going to have.
3 wide. Stanley in the bottom. Don't work.
Rusty in the middle. Hemmler on the top side. They settled that one out. And again, you know, I know that maybe it's a little bit of an annoyance for drivers right now. Oh, we got more cars pitting. Look at this.
No, Mingus just had to come back down.
Yeah, but there's a couple of drivers behind him. Stanley's coming in the 05 and Big Jim in the 88. This seems kind of early.
You wonder if they took full set of fuel or no?
Don't know. We know for certain they did come to pit road under the last caution, but wow, that's
Meanwhile, back up here at the race, Brian Boyles is continuing to show the way. That must really put a lot of confidence in Brian's mind, but at the same time, Brian's also using a lot more fuel than the rest of them by leading this whole pack.
I think we got more drivers potentially pitting here. I started to see it was lighting up, and I think maybe Billy Elliser in the 87's indicating he's coming down pit road. No, it's the car behind him.
Manny says he's pitting, and the
Oh,
510
another
of
car,
Stevens
Pete
pitting.
Zindone in the grass in the one truck.
Caution's not
Oh, no,
out.
sorry, that's Wings. I thought that was Zindone. That's actually the 31 of Wings that went into the grass. As
Greg
Manny D
Lovell
is in.
The 088 of Greg Lovell's pitting. Let's see.
BSR Steven and Matt Stern also in that lap.
Boyles is pitting.
Yep, you see him move down to the inside line, so he'd have the entry into pit road that he wants. It looks like Monty Keller may be going down there with him.
Seth, we'll update real quick. Mingus has disconnected from the service, so he is retired.
And it looks like he retired with no fuel. Was not even able to make it to his pit stall, apparently. As here come the leaders. Wow, that was close with Keller and Voiles. And it's time at the zoo.
Oh, there's going to be contact. Just a little bit of contact. We got Brian Lavelle down there. 3 wide, and he just got turned.
Yes, he did. Contact to himself. I think it was for going. Also issues for Terry Scott trying to get onto pit lane. I think he might have spun out trying to get onto pit road. Another driver, I think it might have been, trying to make who that is. I think it's Stanley in the 05. Looked like he had to come back down pit road, so apparently he got hit with a speeding penalty.
BSR Magoo is currently leading this race. He's going into turn 3 south, and you know him and Furco is now second. Looks like they're slowing down.
Is he out of fuel? Or did he get hit from behind? He just like wiggled that car back and forth. It looked like the 19 may have tagged him, but they're gonna make it
I think that was a case of a slight little bump in the corner. So just a slight little bump that got him a little bit out of shape, but they both make it on just fine. And you gotta like the idea that Magoo and Furco pitted a lap later, because if they pit with that group, that could have cost them some spots as well, let alone time.
Oh, Furco overshot his stall a little bit there in the 19. Pete Zindone was the other car that was on pit road with that duo. And it turns the race lead over, I think, potentially.
It looks like it's going to end up being Monty Keller.
Yes, I think you're right. Yeah, well, and this might be the change for the lead right here with Burgoyne going to the inside. Driver that lost a lot of ground on that pit stop was the 68 of Brian Voiles. Right now projected to cycle around in the 7th position and maybe not even with the lead pack. Burgoyne's going to hit the line, currently scored in 3rd. He's now catching up to Furco and Magoo, who just completed their pit stop. So it looks like he will cycle to the top position. And again, remember, this is the same driver that we were talking about, Diesel, who dominated the Talladega race in the Polar Bear 200 1 week ago.
Absolutely, and looking around now, Seth, it looks like the field is somewhat spread out at this point. We've got several packs individually, a couple of 2-car tandems going on at this moment.
So indeed, the 05 of Stanley did have to come back down pit road for a speeding penalty. He has scored 1 lap down. Looks like 22 drivers on the lead lap, and if you looked just ahead of the race leaders, there's a couple of stragglers. They're in danger of falling a lap down. I believe that is the 54 of Robbie Nisus and the 22 of Bubba Livingston.
Absolutely, and now they have to play this game of we have to get back in line as quickly as possible to stay with the draft. Maybe they can be up to speed, but remember, they've got somewhat damaged, and they've been falling off the pace ever since that restart, Seth.
You talked about the field being spread out. That's an understatement. You've got 6 drivers up in this lead group, then the 2-car tandem of Furco and Magoo in 7th and 8th. It is 6 seconds back to the second group with Steven, RJ, Rusty, Terry Scott, Matt Stern, and Manny D. So this field got majorly broken up.
Looks like Magoo and Furco are trying to do some tandeming here to try to catch up to those 2 lap machines of Livingston and Robbie Nisus. But meanwhile, this top 6 group, Monty Keller, Denny Daniels, Greg Lavelle, Sindone, and Lee Helmer, they're gone, but they're all being led by the one person who dominated last week, and that would be Diesel.
But here's the interesting thing. If it were a normal scenario, you would say these 6, they aren't going to race each other. They're going to stay single file until they get to that next round of pit stops, so that way they can open up as much distance as they can.
Absolutely.
However, they've got that lap 50 coming up in this fuel run. So, you know, who wants of this top 6 to lead that 50th lap and get that cash bonus prize?
Well, by all means, have at it when it comes to lap 48 or lap 49. Go for it, and then after that lap, okay, who cares? Let's get back in line and let's pull away, because you guys, if they race each other, it's going to slowly bring up Magoo and Furco back there, and we already saw how good Furco is. Furco was a lap down early because he missed, and he came right up and started getting pretty racy and part of this main group and the main lead group. So, I mean, they really got to get back single file after lap 50.
Yeah, and with that lap 50 not in the scenario, every single pack, we could cycle through the field. Every single pack's going to get themselves into single file because they've all got a certain agenda. These top 6, obviously, they want to open up the distance between themselves and everybody else. All those other drivers, they want to line up single file so they at least have a remote chance of maybe making up some ground on this top 6 when we get to that next round of pit stops.
But at the same time, those top 6 have got to be careful that they don't get too get racy and go for it. Try to get that cash prize at lap 50 if you want it, and and get settled back. But they got to be careful how racy and how aggressive they do get for that cash prize, because if they have a caution, it's going to be moved to the next lap 10 marker, which would be lap 60, and guess what? If they wreck, that'll bring up the whole pack right back to them.
Would breathe new life into this entire field. You're correct on that. The thing of it, though, as we cycled through there, you saw a group of 6 up at the front, about a group of 5 in that second group. You also have a group of 6 back there in a third group. The likelihood of a caution coming out at this point in time rather slim, so it could end up coming down here. If we don't have a caution, it could end up coming down to those final 2 pit stops we know they have to make. The execution of those pit stops, that could be the deciding factor in who's going to win this race.
And we've also seen people randomly blow up at the same time, so that's also a key as well. If they draft to the point of overheating their engine, depending on where their grill tape is and how their truck is handling, if they blow up, if they don't get off the track in time, that caution comes out, they got a new game plan they got to think about quickly as well.
Little worried here for the 028 of Monty Keller. He's the last car in this single file train, and he's about a car length and a half off the bumper of Denny Daniels. Looks like he is actually going to draft back up, but there have been cases we've seen where a driver will actually be the tail end of a lead group that's going single file. The gap opens up too much that they end up losing touch with the group that they're with.
And looking at this lead group here, they're coming up on another pack up here, and that's already coming into 4.
And this would be right now 17th through, I believe, the 20th position that are all racing here. You've got
Corley's a lap down, and he's going to be at the back of that pack. But you've got Elliser, you've got Crivello, Brian Boyles is part of this group too, along with Wings. So, and they're slowly reeling in Big Jim in the 88 machine.
Well, you gotta wonder what happened with Brian Voiles, because he was the leader when those pit stop cycles began. Now all the way back in the 17th position, as you just touched on, in danger of going a lap down under green.
And you know, like what we were looking at, if this lead group reels in, when they reel in these guys, if they do, I'm just really curious how racy it's going to get, because these guys are wanting to stay on the lead lap at the same time. Lap 50's coming up. They want to maneuver themselves as well. We're already coming on the cusp of we're at 5 to go right now for this lead group to get to lap 50 side.
Well, the interesting thing is, too, if you look at that group of drivers, you've got about 4 of them that are currently on the lead lap. If this lead group catches them, you're going to have the race within the race. Drivers that are battling for the race lead and drivers that are battling, if a caution came out, to be in that lucky dog position.
I'm looking at, I want to touch up on this. Magoo and Furco back here working together in 7th and 8th set. It looks like Robbie Nices has been able to hook up and hang on.
Yep, so has the 22. So maybe they just didn't get going on that restart. There is a thing, too, that we didn't touch on that is a possibility. We do know also with moderate damage, it can affect the lower gears on restarts, and maybe just the 54 and the 22 weren't able to get up to speed on that restart like everybody else were due to the damage they got back under that second
Stanley's
caution.
on pit road.
I'm almost wondering if this might be call it a night pit stop.
Apologize for interrupting you.
No problem. We'll follow this with Stanley in the 05. This is the 3rd pit stop he has made in the last 10 laps, and he is going to pull into his stall, and they are going to service him. So this actually apparently is a regularly scheduled stop for
The
him.
leaders are on the same straightaway as that back group with Voiles. Voiles and them are about to go into 3, and the leaders are about to get into 3 right now, so nearly 2 seconds off.
And the thing of it, too, let's say that we end up having this thing go green to the end, and this first group merges with that group up ahead. Those drivers up there in that group, they could be the X factor in this whole race, because
Absolutely.
there could be some allies, there could be some drafting partners up here for any of these top
there
6.
could be some, oh man, why did you do that? You're supposed to be my friend, and that might set the tone for, you know what? Now I have an idea how you work sometimes. So maybe not too trustworthy the next race, right?
Yeah, the thing is, too, that second group up ahead, they're running the preferred line, that middle group. So if you're the 95, you're going to get a big run. Do you go to the inside, or you tuck in line behind the 20 car, bearing in mind, next time around...
Someone pulled down up there.
And I believe it was Crivello in the 56.
And here they come.
Now remember, when we come around here to hit the line, we've got a proverbial white flag out, because next time by... the leader of the race at the completion of lap 50 is going to get themselves a cash prize.
Brian Lavelle is a little bit off the pace, too. They're catching him real quickly as well up there.
Let's see what's going to happen here as Burgoyne leads that inside line. The top 6 follow him through safely. Let's see if Hemmler has any thoughts about trying to take the race lead. Sindone there in 3rd. Then it's Greg Lavelle and Denny Daniels in 4th and 5th. No move being made yet here on the back straightaway. If the 011 steps out, does Sindone go with him is the question.
Well, we know that high side is where you want to be at. That middle line says so. If someone steps on the low side, is it worth giving up the track position just to make that one little itty-bitty inch forward? Because you're going to lose it right away.
Oh, nobody's making a move here in the trial. Well, it doesn't look like. So I think, barring anything here in the final couple hundred feet, looks like John Burgoyne's going to get himself that cash prize, as he will lead lap number 50's completion under green flag conditions.
I wonder if they even knew what lap it was.
I'm not sure. Maybe we're the only ones that knew about it.
Maybe they were so busy focusing on a race that they forgot what lap it was, but bar none, doesn't matter. You know, he's going to get the cash prize regardlessly now.
I mean, if that's the case, what do we call that? Big picture racing? You're just trying to strategize and look ahead to that checkered flag. As we said, it's the debut race for the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. First time that East Coast Thunder has done this special event. And so everybody wants to be able to say, hey, I won that very first time that this race was hosted. And looking here, looks like the 028 of Monty Keller had a bit of an issue getting by the lap traffic. He's kind of mired back in that second group. There you see the Marathon logo sticking out there on the inside line. So only the top 5 were able to break ahead of this
I
group.
do want to point out where the leader is right now on the backstretch, going into 3 momentarily. The next car they would encounter would be Manny at the moment in 710, and he's running in 13th, and he is just now coming off of the corner, going onto the backstretch. So pretty much on the other side of the track. So they've got a lot of time in between to race and get themselves sorted out single file again, Seth.
20 of Corley coming down pit road. I think this is regularly scheduled, and if you remember, Jess, it was only about 5 to 7 laps after he and Mingus came down that last cycle of pit stops began. So all of a sudden, these drivers, they're starting to have to think about pit road all over.
Yeah, but I could have sworn they could have stretched it a little bit further, but they came down a little bit quicker than what we anticipated. Remember, like when Corley pitted, Mingus pitted, and who else was it? There was a couple of other people that pit right away, right behind it. I think BSR Big Jim was one of them too. I think
Big Jim, and I believe the other one was Wings, if I'm not mistaken.
And they could have stretched it a little bit further too, but they didn't. They all came in, and that's what started that whole fiasco that we saw. And now the question is, are they going to make mistakes this time through or not?
You know, maybe a stupid question, because I really don't know if it plays a factor, but with it being open setup, is there a way that you can set up the car where it actually would consume fuel a little bit quicker than you would normally expect? I don't know.
I have no idea.
Might be something we'll have to ask these guys afterwards. There you see back there is the 31 of Wings ducking down to the inside. Now, bear in mind, we've got a race within a race right now. Wings is in the free pass position if we got a caution. Be the second time tonight that he would be the lucky dog. And actually, he pulled down to the inside because the 31's coming to pit road.
And looks like the second round is about to start off now, huh?
Whoa, that was close. He was about 80 miles per hour at the commitment line. You're cutting it close if it's 70. We'll have to wait and see if he was able to get it down quickly enough to pit road speed or not.
And look at this battle up here still. I mean, it looks like they're... You see Voiles a little bit higher up that time.
That's still the lucky dog spot battle between the 87 and the 68.
They really want to get it. It looks like Monty wants to go with Voiles at this moment. I don't know if they're going to do anything pretty well up on that high. So now Monty's going to go back in line and draft and pass on Voiles and catch up to Elliser.
He's awfully low coming off of 4. I wonder if he might be pitting, but no. Instead, it's going to be Big Jim, who was one of our earlier pitters under the last round of green flag pit stops. He's brought the Tide machine to pit lane. Top 5, credit them. They've been able to keep the draft close. Other drivers that they caught have latched on as well. They've made about a 10-car pack in this lead group, but 50% of them are on the lead lap. The other 50% are battling to try and get the lucky dog. And one thing that we tend to see at the super speedways when we get into these long green flag runs and the field starts to split apart, it's like the groups get smaller and smaller and smaller. So it'll be interesting to see if the 6 that were all together when the cycle began, if they'll be all together again this time. And it looks like they're all pitting here this lap.
Now the only question remains is, are they going to make a mistake?
So far, it looks like they all were able to make it on safely onto pit road, but we know a lot can happen from there to their pit stall, and from their pit stall off of pit road on exit. Looks like Furco and Magoo, they're going to stay out a little bit longer. They were some of the last to come to pit lane on the last cycle. I gotta wonder, too, what, 1 or 2 laps they're able to go further? I mean, with the caution that we had, that second yellow, kind of threw a little bit of a monkey wrench into our calculating who could make it as far as who, but I don't know. Could those 2 laps be a difference maker at the end of this race? If the 19 and the 144 can go those 2 extra laps, would that be potentially the final 2 laps of the race that they could make?
Seems like they all got off just fine, Seth.
We'll follow up on that as like the 19 really low there through 3 and 4. I think Furco might be coming this time. Magoo's going to come down with him. Whoa, slower down there. Oh, Furco is Oh, I don't think he's going to
Robbie
make
locked the tires up at the 22. Oh gosh, here goes 19 around.
Oh, Furco's going to get hit. He gets hit on pit road there by, I think that was Brian Lavelle. Second time that Brian Lavelle's had an issue on pit road in the second round of green flag pit stops, and I'm pretty certain Furco did not make the commitment line, so that's going to be 30 extra seconds he'll have to spend on pit road. And looks like the lead's going to change again. Greg Lavelle was the one to get off pit road of these top 5. So he'll be out in front, and it looks like he will be the 8th different leader on the night as a result.
We just cannot get through pit stops without having some weird thing happen, can we?
No, well, that's another thing. I mean, with open setup, these drivers pre-race, they're allowed to, edit whatever they want to, and one big thing with green flag pit stops that you want to make absolutely certain is in your comfort level is the brake bias. Once you go green, you can't adjust that anymore, and that could be why we're seeing some of these drivers come to pit road smoking the tires, trying to get on the brakes and not being able to make it on pit road entrance.
And now we've got at least one more pit stop to come in, don't you think? I mean, from here on out, so 20 laps, or just give or take, just 20 laps. That's going to put us right there on that cusp of, 70, going on 80?
If my calculations are
78 and 81?
I think they can make it on one more pit stop. I think that they would be, if 20 is the max they can go, I think they can make it on one more pit stop. Everybody that came to pit road under that last round, regardless of which lap it was on. Well, John Burgoyne in second place, if he had been able to lead 3 more laps, he would have had the most laps led here tonight. Right now, he has 17. Brian Voiles has led the most with 19. And Denny Daniels, who was out in front early in this race, our pole sitter, he led 11. Other drivers that have led so far in this race, current leader Greg Lavelle. Also, Magoo has led 2 laps. BSR Steven led 1. Robbie Nisus led 1, as did Furco. And Michael Corley led 4. But currently, 12 drivers on the lead lap, and we could be in the next couple of laps seeing maybe as little as 6 drivers on the lead lap as that second group. Oh, we got a car in trouble. Slow on the apron. The 19.
Caution is not out yet.
And I'm wondering, I'm trying to see about the telemetry. I think that car's out of fuel.
No yellow, we're still clean.
But the issue is he coming off of 2? I think that's turn 2. I don't think that's car.
I saw a car off of 4. Wasn't that off of 4?
Might be. Oh, yeah, it is off of 4. So he might be able to make it back to pit road.
Oh gosh, Billy Ellis just ran up on a slower machine. He had to back off.
Couple of near moments there for a caution, which I'm sure about half the field would love to see.
You're talking about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. About 6 of these guys would love to see a caution to get back on the lap, but then at the same time, if they take the wave around, it's just going to be, a point of what pit strategy we're going to have to do to hope for another caution to catch back up for the rest of them. I mean, you've got 3 drivers right now, 2 laps down as well.
That would be Michael Corley, Bubba Livingston, and Furco, who it looks like did indeed make it to his pit stall.
Yeah, Furco goes another lap down, unfortunately. Stanley has retired. Mingus, no fuel. Nelly's out as well with Dave Little, which we've already talked about before. So currently only 4 drivers are out of the race set.
And we've seen on these 2 rounds of green flag pit stops, a driver up inside of the top 3 have an issue. If we go back to the first round, it was Brian Voiles who was leading the field. He dropped outside of the top 15, a lap down after the pit stops were over. The driver this time in this round of pit stops was 0-11 of Lee Hemler. He was second when the pit stops began just a few laps ago. He now finds himself last car on the lead lap in 12th place.
Yeah, and I got no idea how this is going to sort itself out because you've got all these drivers right now from Magoo down to, I think it's Lehelmer?
Yes.
All the way down. They're off the pace, from the leaders themselves. 21 seconds all the way to 34 seconds back, going on 35 seconds. and they're trying their best to hang with this group. And I just don't see them making any progress to catch them unless they get a caution, unless it's a fuel pit strategy.
And if we do get that caution, this battle on the track is just as important as the battle for the race lead. Brian Voiles and Billy Elser right now battling for first car 1 lap down. Jeff Cravella was in the mix, but he has fallen back behind the 20 of Michael Corley, trying to get back up there, make it a 3-car fight for the free pass position. The problem for them, though, as you alluded to, there's about 30 seconds from race leader Greg Lavelle back to 7th place RJ Rusty, and it's looking like if we find out where that group is, these guys are just now coming out of turn number 4. The lead pack is currently coming down the back straightaway. I mean, they still have some distance, but we could be talking anywhere from 15 to 20 laps. They'd go a lap down, and then that would knock Elliser and Brian Voiles out of contending for the free pass position.
I do want to point out one thing. We've got the 088 leading this race, correct?
Right.
You do realize that he has the fastest current lap of this whole race at this moment at a 47.159, tied with Denny Daniels at 47.159 as well. They got the top spots as well with the fast up, but we've seen Greg Lavelle in other leagues that he knows how to be up front. He knows what he's got to do to hold on to this lead. And now it's toward the end of this race. This is past the halfway mark. So who knows what's going to happen now?
And with the way that this race is panned out, we say it all the time at the super speedways because it always holds true. It's not about where you start, it's where you finish. Greg Lavelle started this race from 23rd. The car behind him, John Burgoyne, started all the way back in the 25th position. The guys behind them there, completing the rest of the top 5, they started 6th or higher, with our pole sitter, of course, being Denny Daniels in the 37th. So you got 2 guys that didn't even lay down lap times. You've got 3 guys that start up inside of the top 10, and all of them up here right now in the top 5, pretty much barring a caution, going to be our main contenders for tonight's race win.
Unless we have another caution.
Unless we have another caution, which it could be. They've still got one more pit stop at least in their future, and I think if they can at least make it to lap 74, lap 75 before coming to pit road, they should be able to make it the rest of the scheduled distance. Not much going on right now as you've got drivers up here in the top 5 trying to pull away from the rest of the field trying to reel them in, and a lot of drivers hoping to see the yellow flag in the flagman's hands, but they don't want to be that caution. So we're going to step aside for a quick commercial break. We are closing in on 25 laps to go here tonight at Talladega Superspeedway as you're watching the ECT St. Valentine's Day Massacre at Talladega.
It's a road few dare to travel, a journey filled with danger and unpredictability. So why do we traverse this road? Why do we take such a gamble? Because if we don't try, we'll never know what we could have achieved. That's why we strap in, rev up, and fix our focus on the ultimate prize. Because the reward is well worth the risk. The 2021 NNSCRA Daytona 500, Saturday, February 20th, exclusively on Flatout Racing Network.
ETE Reman is the world's best remanufacturer of transmissions for import and domestic cars and trucks. Based in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, our customers are repair shops, auto parts stores, dealerships, and distributors. And with 6 nationwide warehouses, we're where and when you need us. So when you're looking for a transmission that is like new, only better, instill confidence and install ETE Reman.
It's a road few dare to travel, a journey filled with danger and unpredictability. So why do we traverse this road? Why do we take such a gamble? Because if we don't try, we'll never know what we could have achieved. That's why we strap in, rev up, and fix our focus on the ultimate prize. Because the reward is well worth the risk. The 2021 NNSCRA Daytona 500, Saturday, February 20th, exclusively on Flatout Racing Network.
ETE Reman is the world's best remanufacturer of transmissions for import and domestic cars and trucks. Based in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, our customers are repair shops, auto parts stores, dealerships, and distributors. And with 6 nationwide warehouses, we're where and when you need us. So when you're looking for a transmission that is like new, only better, instill confidence and install ETE Reman.
It's a road few dare to travel, a journey filled with danger and unpredictability. So
We welcome you back here to Talladega Super Speedway as we are now closing in on 20 laps to go in the ECT, first annual ECT St. Valentine's Day Massacre. Right now, Greg Lavelle leading this group of 5, which are your top 5. Lavelle, Burgoyne, Daniels, Sindone, and Monty Keller. It's about 25 seconds back to anybody else that's on the lead lap. But Jess, we still got one more pit stop coming up, and I think we're getting close to when that round of pit stops is going to be taking place.
Absolutely, and I'm looking out the front of Greg Lavelle. There is looks like there's maybe 3 or 4 trucks leaving turn 2 right now. So,
oh, we got a wreck. This might be a caution. The 20 of Corley has wrecked at the inside of turn 4 coming to pit road.
no caution.
See the flagman there at the exit of the entrance of pit road. If he had a red flag in his hand, the caution would be out. So yes, no yellow for that solo spin off of 4. We stay green for the time being.
Oh, you know, a lot of these drivers, they are really hoping to get that caution, get that break to get back part of this group here. But the problem is, if that does happen, Seth, these drivers will come into pit. A lot of these drivers trapped for 1 lap down will have no choice but to take that wave around to be part of this group again, unless there's another circumstance regarding the rules that we aren't aware of.
See, here's the situation. I mean, let's say that these race leaders haven't yet come to pit road. A caution comes out. I don't think any of those drivers a lap down would have any choice. They'd have to come down pit road and stay a lap down. Otherwise, they'd run out of fuel if they tried taking the wave around.
Or they could hope. Oh, well, we got pit stops right now. Here comes BSR Big Jim in the 88 and Wings in the 31 coming in.
All right, so these guys are coming to pit road on the completion of lap 72, albeit both of them are a lap down as well. Big question mark on whether these 2 drivers would be able to make it the rest of the way on fuel, because right now the target lap for most of these guys to be able to make it to the checkered flag would be somewhere around lap 74. And actually, check that. Those drivers actually were on their 72nd lap. Right now, the leaders just completed the 74th lap. So I think those 2, Big Jim
the next
and Wins,
group
could
is
make
heading,
it.
That will, according to what I'm looking at on the chat log, looks like possibly Greg Lavelle might be pitting this lap. RJ Rusty posted that he's pitting this lap as well. Stern's pitting.
RJ Rusty and Matt Stern.
Monty
they are
Keller
currently
is
on the
pitting
lead
as
lap.
well, and Denny Daniels.
There's the 2. He's hitting pit lane there all by his lonesome. That might be detrimental. Here comes
Here
Matt
come the
Stern.
leaders. The leaders are coming off of 4 right now, so they're all coming down.
They are going to all pit together. Now remember, on the first round of pit stops, Burgoyne got the race lead. On the second round, Lavelle got the race lead. And this could be the money stop. Whoever comes out of this, the race leader of these 5, could end up being the eventual winner of this race, having the ability to control the draft. And does that number 1 pit stall come into play, perhaps, for our pole sitter, Denny Daniels, who comes down pit road, 3rd place of those 5 drivers?
Billy Elliser and Robbie Nisus have just entered pit road as well, Seth.
Elliser was, at the time, the free pass car. Not certain who it will be when all this cycles around, as looks like Denny Daniels, they're going to at least change the right side tires. Let's see if they go around to the lefts.
Matt Stern's away.
Right side tires only for Denny Daniels, and oh, he almost won the battle off pit road, but it will be Lavelle who's going to come out with it. Burgoyne in 2nd, and then Daniels in 3rd place. So it was the 088 able to get off pit road, the race leader, but he's got a bit of a gap back to Burgoyne and a bit of a gap back to Denny Daniels and Monty Keller, so this could close up and actually be a pretty good race amongst the top 5.
Absolutely, especially with that draft coming into play. Some of these cars, like we see the 710 of Manias, will be able to offer a little bit of draft for a little bit of speed for these other guys to maneuver around and possibly do something with Greg Lavelle. Because here comes the 95 right now, looking, he's got a run on Lavelle.
Big run to the back bumper of Greg Lavelle, but he lost touch with the driver that pushed him there. I believe it was Manny D in the 710. Here comes Denny Daniels. He's got Monty Keller with him, so now it's a battle of 2 truck tandems.
Seth, we got a couple of trucks up ahead that are lapped down as well. They're going to get a run on. They're going to encounter them very soon, and they could play a big factor, like we said. We see there's a driver up on the high side peeking above that 95 machine.
Yeah, and it also looks like maybe the one of Pete Sindone might have lost touch with the top 4. He might have faded out of this.
Here comes that machine to the inside of the 95.
And we know that when we get closer to the end of the race, drivers will come down pit road if it's a late race caution and put on that extra grill tape. With about 20 laps remaining when they came down pit road, did they stay at the status quo, or did they put on grill tape here?
They would not put on grill tape at this point. Absolutely not.
Well, this breathed new life, though, with this side-by-side battling. I think Pete Sindone might be able to latch onto these guys, so don't count out the driver of the number 1
Here comes the 37 of Denny Daniels, Seth.
The shorter way around the
Denny's
racetrack.
going for it now.
He was able to get the pole, trying to go coast to coast.
Look at the drivers in front, too. We got 3 or 4 lap machines they're catching.
See if maybe the 37 could get the toe off of one of those drivers they're catching. And now his wingman is going to jump up to the top side. Monty Keller moves back up in front of Pete Sindone. So Denny Daniels, no love for the pole sitter. He's going to fall from 3rd back to the 5th position.
We should point out the last race that we did where Diesel won the Polar Bear 200, Seth. Who was the one challenging for the lead?
Yeah, great point.
Right behind him, Monty Keller back there.
Absolutely. Let's see if it's going to be that rivalry renewed from 1 week ago. But
caution is out. Caution's out.
Up.
Someone's blown up in the inside. I think that's BSR Big Jim.
Yep, I saw the smoke there. It was at the start-finish line.
Is
you're
it
right.
Big Jim?
You
yes,
are
it
correct.
was. He is retired. He's out.
Oh, man.
Oh boy, this is going to throw a big wrench into everything. I wonder what they're going to do with the lap down and who's going to get it, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And plus, now with you got 14 laps, questioning, you go back to green, lap 10 to go, I believe. Is it worth putting on 5% extra grill tape?
That's a great question. I don't know. Oh, man. A lot of decisions going to have to be made. Manny D was the lucky dog driver, 11th car in the running order. The top 10 were all on the lead lap when that caution came out. The thing is, too, Greg Lavelle, Burgoyne, Keller, Sindone, Denny Daniels, they were all good to make it on fuel. If they come down pit road, there's no doubt in my mind, drivers from about 11th on back to 17th, they will stay out. They will take the wave around. But if none of our top 5 come down pit road, they're going to be pinned -1. And it looks like that 088 has no thoughts of coming down pit road here. Let's see if we can go back here and see what happened.
It shows a camshaft on the standings results for BSR Big Jim.
We'll see what happened to him. This was I think the leaders actually were closing in on this as well. The black smoke hadn't exactly dissipated by the time the leaders came around to the start-finish line. It looks like he actually tried to get that truck off the racing surface to not bring out a caution. He was running at the time behind Wings off of turn 4, and just going to see the engine's going to let go underneath that Tide machine on the front straightaway. He then brings it down to the apron, but unfortunately not quickly enough for the flagman not to throw the caution flag, which, as you said, it changed the whole landscape of this race. We had 2 cautions prior to this, then 3 rounds of green flag pit stops, and now this third caution completely changes the complexity and sets us up for, I would say, maybe
10
12, 11
shootout,
laps to go. Yeah,
I think
like
it'll be close to like 11 laps shootout probably for this race. But then you got to think about this, Seth. Even though we only have currently 10, if Manny gets the lucky dog, it'll be 11, and depending on what the rule is for the rest of them, if they stay a lap down or if they actually are allowed to go around or etc. Either way, they're going to be jam-packed. We're going to have lap cars intermingled with the actual lap cars as well. They're going to get racy. They're going to hope for another quick caution to get that advantage. But at the same time, are we racing to 90-91 now? That's the question.
Exactly. And the thing of it is, too, you touched on, I'll just embellish it a little bit, it's the closest these drivers have been around each other since lap 35, when the field got completely split up with that first round of green flag pit stops. And look at some of the names that now we're going to be able to talk about potentially in the running for this win.
RJ Rusty is the one name that pops out to me, because remember last week, maybe this is his redemption race here.
Yeah, we got Magoo, Rusty, Matt Stern, Terry Scott, and Lee Hemler. They all managed to stay on the lead lap. They're going to be the second half of the top 10 when we go back green flag racing. And we knew that Magoo was doing some pit road strategy in the early stages of this race, down a couple laps earlier. That worked out for him. RJ Rusty and Matt Stern, they pretty much had been nose to tail the entire green flag run to stay on the lead lap. All of a sudden, we've got 5 new players up here, along with the 5 that we've pretty much been seeing all single file.
Seth. Crivello just retired.
So Jeff Crivello, who I believe was a lap down. He was. Like an early night for him. Tough break there, because, again, this thing isn't over. There's potential that we could have a couple more cautions at least before this race is over, and we've now got,
Looks like there's a little bit of... Wait, hold on, Seth. If you're looking at the leaderboard, look at the maneuverability here. RJ Rusty, Terry Scott, Master, and 20 seconds back of the leader now. Huh. It makes you wonder what's going on in that pit road pitting area now with the grill tape.
Yeah, the 4 I know for certain was on pit road.
Yeah, what I'm saying is, they pit. They give out the grill tip, but they might have just added on just to get that little bit of extra edge.
Very well might have. There's Matt Stern in that Crown Royal number 4 Chevy Silverado. Mandy D in the 710, being the lucky dog, was able to come back down pit road. Undoubtedly, he probably took on a fresh set of Goodyear tires and filled up that tank to make sure he can make it the rest of the way. As right now, it looks like the drivers that would be battling for the free pass position, should we have another caution, would be 12th on down through 16th. BSR Stevens, Brian Voiles, Wings, Brian Lavelle, and Billy Elliser. So again, it's going to be another situation of the race within the race if we were to have a yellow flag come out. But now...
Yeah, but if we have a yellow flag come out, it will be only one more shot at the yellow flag, because if we have a yellow flag after that, then the race will probably be called immediately like that based on where they will go green. Because if we go green, like, I think the lights will go off this time by Seth, so we would probably go green lap 83, I believe. And if we go green on lap 83... that leaves us about 11 laps to go, 10 laps to go, give or take, correct?
Yeah.
So at that point, we go green, caution comes out, that's 3 to 4 extra pit pacing laps right there. Then, if a caution then comes out after that, you get the point.
Yeah,
so.
They probably could only get away with one more caution between now and the checkers, and it would have to probably occur within the next 3 to 4 laps of going back green. I gotta wonder too, because the big thing we talked about early on in this race when everyone was bunched up was we actually really saw an inside line form. They had a lot more numbers down there. Now, based on the fact that we've got lap cars and lead lap cars alike, does this give drivers like Fagoin, Keller, Sindone, Denny Daniels a little bit more of a chance to generate a run to get around the 88 of Greg Lavelle? Because when we were talking under that last commercial break, I was stating that I felt whoever got off pit road of those 5 drivers was going to win this race, because I didn't think it would be that easy for 4 drivers to be able to generate enough of a run to get around that lead truck.
But they all want to win this first annual, so chances are they're going to try to team up, then leave. Team up, then leave. Then team up and leave. Like they're going to like pass maybe 1 or 2 trucks, and then they're going to say, yeah, you know what? I'm going to leave you. I'm going to try for my own. And then we're going to team up there, and then that person's going to get left behind too. And it's just going to keep on and on and on. This first annual one, they all want to win this one, and how important it is. And these guys might even know it's a fun event, special event. But first annual, you want to win it.
And not only that, there's no championship, no points on the line. So these drivers, they're going to be more than willing to make a maneuver here that they might not necessarily make if it were a weekly league race. Because, as you said, it's a special event. It's a fun event. So these drivers, they're going to take and be maybe a little bit more risky as we get closer and closer to the end of this race.
We got lap cars mixed within the lead lap as well, because people came on the pit that time as well. So... and we see Greg Lavelle holding that high side. You got the recent winner for the last race that we have for broadcasting, Diesel, right on the bottom with Monty Keller behind him, Seth. It's going to be one heck of a run here for the dash. We just wonder who's going to get it. I really wonder.
Last time that Denny Daniels led us to green on that outside line, he was not able to hold the race lead. Good restart there for Lavelle's, but he's going to have Sindone about a half car length behind him. Inside line is formed up 95. Better with Burgoyne and Keller.
95 to the lead again, Seth.
And it's 3 against 2 on that inside line. Denny Daniels trying to clear up, can't quite do it. He's left side by side with Lavelle for 3rd, as Keller's been able to push himself and Burgoyne to the race lead.
Now we look at the group back here. Magoo goes right to the bottom. Was on the high side, went straight to the bottom, right behind Denny Daniels. And the other machine, which happens to be Brian Voiles. We know Brian Voiles is a lot down, but he's on that inside line trying to help give any assistance he can to that inside bottom of Denny Daniels, Seth.
Trying to help maybe be an X factor at the same time, trying to hold that free pass position if we were to get a yellow flag. So far, we keep it clean and green. We're getting closer, as you alluded to, Jess, where we would be within a window that a caution coming out, we would end up ending this race under yellow. So these drivers have to be aware of that as well. As
we have 11 to go.
Daniels got a nice run out of 2, got to the left rear quarter panel of Burgoyne, and they are making some speed down this back straightaway with Voiles and Magoo in tow.
How bad do you want it? How bad are you willing to risk one move that could wreck the entire field? It could either make it or break it. How much do you want it, Seth?
Kind of interesting if you think about last week as well. We talked about the fact that Burgoyne, or Diesel, winning that race, he did it from the pole. Denny Daniels trying to make it 2 for 2 in back-to-back Saturdays of a pole sitter winning a Talladega race.
But at the same time, there's one person in here who wants that redemption factor of what could have been, and that's that 028 of Monty Keller right behind that 95 from last week.
This is the feeling out process. You try and figure out, if you make a move, would the car behind me, or the truck in this case, go with me? If not, you're going to get left out to dry. The top line has the numbers. How about the 0-11 there of Lee Hemler? He was 2nd back during the 2nd round of pit stops. Lost a lot of time, lost the draft, but stayed on the lead lap. Now he's got new life. 5th on that outside line.
Seth? About to start lap 86.
Getting into that window. If these drivers end up making it to about lap 90, I would say, and a caution came out, the race would end under yellow. I think maybe optimistically, if we got to 89, the caution came out, we'd have a 1-lap shootout, but even that's kind of borderline because we have lap down machines.
I was watching Matt Stern back here. He pushed up pretty bad off turn 2. Barely got the wall just a little bit. And thinking about him doing that, making me wonder how hard are these drivers pushing it into these corners. Now, Is it a possibility that they might overdrive, push up a little bit more, get a little bit of contact? They're trying to make sure they don't do that to each other. At the same time, they're trying to make sure they don't go way up high and hit that wall and bounce off the wall, causing a 3 wide factor, which we saw earlier on, which collected the cars of Robbie Nices, I believe, and it was another. I think it was the 22 machine, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. It was Livingston. You know what I find interesting, too? You know, you mentioned about the fact that the 4 of Matt Stern came back down pit road there when we got the 1 green signal, and we wondered about him taking on that grill tape. Hasn't really made a charge right now. Might be trying to make sure he doesn't overheat that engine and might try and make a charge late in that 4 machine.
Oh, boy, Seth. 3 in a row right here. Carefully navigating throughout these last few laps. When do you make that move? Because we are coming up to start lap 88, the point of no return, basically meaning, in my opinion, which would be if the caution comes out, the race is over. That's coming. It's right around the corner now.
This has been kind of a race of thirds at Talladega. 2 early cautions in this race. Then we ended up having 3 rounds of green flag pit stops, a late race yellow setting us up for what should be a doozy of a finish. Your lead lap cars all separated by a 1.5 seconds still in the running with lap machines all intermingled.
Someone blew up! Brian Lavelle blew up!
And
no caution!
Wow, I can't believe there's no caution for that, as he was on the racing surface.
He blew up in the draft. Caution's out. Caution is out now.
Yellow flag is going to wave. And that...
Who's going to get the lucky dog?
I think right now Voiles has got it.
Who's going to get that lucky dog spot? Seth, who wants it?
It's going to be Voiles. It is going to be Voiles, as there was no other lap machine in the vicinity. You had to go a long ways back before you got to BSR Steven in the 510. Caution waves,
my gosh.
We will get back green.
Talk about an X Factor already playing right there. We weren't sure if we were going to have it or not, but looked like on my end that Lavelle, he was up at the high side. He couldn't get to the bottom because there were drivers on his inside. Engine let go. He got a bump from behind. And then that's all it took. But I don't know why the caution didn't come out right away. I mean, he was already sideways when he went underneath the apron, when he went all the way down. So the caution didn't come out. I wonder what actually triggered the caution.
Well, the car spins back up towards the track here. And this right here is when the caution comes out. He's not even up near the racing surface. And I'm with you. I mean, we've had cases where drivers will spin off of a corner, but they're on the inside line. So it doesn't take that long for them to go down below the yellow line and not bring out a yellow flag. But this one, he was, as you said, up there on the top side, spun down 3 lanes with oncoming traffic, and it took a long time before the race officials actually decided to throw the yellow flag. We're going to see if we can find a camera angle here to pinpoint exactly when this caution came out. So you're going to see the smoke here in the middle of the pack. There's where the engine lets go. He's going to get a hit from behind by, I believe it's the 87 of Billy Elliser. And I want to find out, we're going to actually see if we can go on board with a driver to look at the caution lights. All right, we're going to look from the roof here and see if we can get with a car that's up there on the outside line. Riding on board with the 2 of RJ Rusty. See, at this point, lights are still green. Another caution light that's coming up here. And looking to see when the yellow flag comes out. Still no yellow flag there.
It's just hard to say, you know?
See, looking with the leader, does this caution light come on? No, it does not.
Waits and waits and waits and waits.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right there. It doesn't make any sense. I would expect it to come out right when Brian got turned in front of traffic, because there was still a couple of trucks behind him coming. And he was on the racing surface, so you would have imagined that it would have gone, because an engine letting go, you're on track, and then you get turned sideways before you even get to the apron. I kind of imagine that it would come out right there, but
yeah, right there. He's about, Well, he's not even midway up towards the racing surface, still in the infield grass. That right there is when the caution came out. Now, there was a car that was coming up towards his vicinity, the 22 of Bubba Livingston, but again, nowhere in danger. The only thing I can maybe possibly think of here, Jess, is it possible that when the engine let go, since it was up there on the racing surface, maybe, just maybe, the game read possible debris up there and threw a debris caution?
I wouldn't imagine. Well, that is a possibility. I mean, it's rare that happens, but it has happened before.
Whatever it did, it's now set us up for...
I'm wondering if after the accident occurred, he was still somewhat close to the racing surface when he came to a stop, right?
Yeah, yep.
So maybe it registered the engine let go and he's on track and he can't get back to pit road right there.
Certainly a weird one. There's no doubt about that, especially with the fact that he was up there in the third groove.
People have come into pit, Seth, and play with their grill tape, including Danny Daniels.
That's interesting. Daniels giving up what would have been, I believe, 6th place, where he was running to come down pit road, and that would be the time. Now would be the time if you're going to try that kind of a strategy and add the grill tape, because we're going to be going back green, probably with a green-white checkered, I would assume. So
yeah,
why not run the risk now?
Too. I'd imagine that too, because the yellow lights are still on, so next time I'm guessing it would go off.
Now, Brian Boyles,
you've got Danny Daniels, you've got Brian Boyles back on the lead lap, but get this. He had a chance to come in the pit, too. So what does that tell you with him and his grill tape, Seth?
Yep, I'm sure he probably kicked it up a couple of percentages as well, adding on that grill tape.
I wonder if all these guys that are lapped down behind him, even though they are lapped down, they can't win this race. Why not put their grill tape and try to be a factor in this? I mean, yeah, okay, you're not going to win the race, but hey, you can certainly make your name and make a statement with everyone else by being a factor at the end of this.
Well, you still got 13th place to battle for, and if you consider the fact as well that I believe in both Bomb Squad Racing and over here in East Coast Thunder, every league that they run is open setup. So, you know, do a little bit of experimentation, because who knows, you come to Talladega with this mod a little bit further on down the road and have that in the back of your memory bank of, hey, this actually worked out in the late race caution.
Well, that's exactly what I'm sure the 95 and the 028 of you had Diesel and Monte Calvert sitting there. You know what they had that last race that we have Saturday, and now look at him 1-2. 95 looks like he's choosing the high side compared to the low side this time.
I don't get it though. I don't understand that, because we've seen on the last 2 restarts, the driver that chooses the outside line loses the lead off of turn 2. So why would Burgoyne take that top line here, knowing what's happened that last restart? Remember, it was the last restart on the inside line.
I got 2 guesses. 2 guesses. Okay?
Okay.
BSR Magoo's up there. Yes, Lavelle does have BSR on his name, but at the same time, Lavelle and Monte Keller have raced around each other in other leagues outside of BSR, and we know that Diesel and Magoo have been around each other for a long period of time in BSR as well, so maybe there's more of a loyalty factor between those two, or maybe Monte Keller feels, okay, well, you got Greg down there. Maybe Diesel is confident that Magoo will get up to him based on who's behind Magoo.
We're going to have to wait. So that'd be Pete Sindone in the 1 machine, third on that outside line that you're referring to. Now, we know we've entered into that point. We will get back green, but the next flag will end the race. If a caution comes out before we receive the white flag, they will race back to the caution, and the race will end under yellow. If we get to the white flag, we race back to the checkers no matter what happens. Drivers on the lead lap to settle this out. It's going to be John Burgoyne leading this race. Monte Keller will line up to his inside in second. Greg Lavelle on the inside of row 2 with Magoo to the top side in 4th. Lee Hemler will be 5th. Pete Sindone in 6th. RJ Rusty 7th. Terry Scott in 8th. Matt Stern 9th. Manny D in 10th. Denny Daniels in 11th, and Brian Voiles in 12th. Those are your lead lap machines. No other drivers will have the opportunity to get a lucky
Wait,
dog.
hold on,
Those
hold
that
on. Did they give Brian Williams the lucky dog back? I
He
mean,
will
are we
get the
under a certain
lap.
time?
Yes, I believe that their system is they add the lap back when they go back green. So he scored -1 on the screen right now. He will be on the lead lap when they hit the line.
But I'm just letting you know, I could be wrong, but my two guesses are either it's loyalty to your friend, or it's the fact that you know who can push you right away, because we've played that game before, Seth.
Let's see what happens. Green, white checker to finish out the first annual St. Valentine's Day Massacre. Burgoyne trying to go for back-to-back Saturday victories at Talladega. Through the gears they go. Green flag in the air.
Trying to hold on down there.
They're lined up pretty well on that inside line. Keller, Lavelle,
Pete
and...
Sindone. Pete Sindone's a factor here. He pretty much got right in there. Now he's going to the bottom.
And just like that, Burgoyne and Magoo left out high and dry. Keller to the point. Lavelle peeking low. Door was open. Keller throws the block. Now here comes Himmler to the top side with Burgoyne.
A lot of mirror driving right now happening, Seth.
Boy, that 028's got to make that rear bumper as wide as he possibly can. Lavelle on the back bumper. If he gets a run, where does he go? If he goes, does Sindone go with him? He now moves into third. Through the tri-oval, white flag will be in the air
to the high
this time.
side. The one machine to the high side. Here comes Magoo. Magoo's right underneath for third.
Pete Sindone trying to generate something up there, but it looks like he's only got Himmler to help him. On the inside line, they're still lined up. Ooh, 088 pushes the one up the track. Now he's clear. Will he jump to the top side down the back
I do
straightaway?
want to point out Brian Voiles is still labeled a lap down, Seth, so maybe they got to a certain point where they don't give the lucky dog back. That's what I was asking a moment ago, and I'm guessing that's what it
Look
is.
at Denny Daniels with that grill tape change. 3 wide up on the top side trying to make something happen as Lavelle gets loose into
Oh, he blew up. Someone blew up back here.
Still going to race to the checkers. I believe that is Steven in the 510. Keller on the top, blocking Sindone. Sindone goes to the bottom. He's there. He's alongside onto the apron. It's going to be a photo finish. Here comes Helmer on the top side. 3 wide. Sindone's going to get it. Pete Sindone by maybe a foot. Wow.
Oh boy, I don't know how that's going to go over with that move on that bottom of the yellow line.
That was close. I don't know if he got forced or not. He did have his left sides below the yellow line, so that is kind of a bit of a gray area.
I'm going to have to go back and look at that real quick.
Oh boy, 3 wide to the stripe, 31 1,000 separated Sindone, Keller, and Himmler coming to the start-finish line. Let's jump back. Let's see about out of turn 4.
Greg Lavelle got a little bit out of shape right there in 3. And when he got a little bit out of shape, that's all that Sindone needed to make that move.
We're going to go with the helicopter cam, which will give us the best possible view of this to find out if indeed maybe the one got forced down there.
And it looked like it, in my opinion, it looked like Monty Keller kept trying to come down to block him, and to the point where Sindone just had to put his tires on that apron.
At this point, he is there to the left rear. 028 comes down. Oh, yeah. There's no doubt he got forced. There's no harm, no foul with staying down there. If you're Pete Sindone, he was clearly forced. And look at the run that Himmler got on the top side. He almost was able to snipe the both of them. Man.
I'm just in awe by what that one machine just did. Greg Lavelle had a huge run, and then he got a little bit out of shape in 3, and that's all it took for that opening to happen for that number 1 machine to become the number 1 finisher.
And he timed it perfectly. A lot of times at Talladega, especially at this type of a Talladega where that outside line, that middle line is so important, usually you're not able to make that crossover from the top to the bottom without getting blocked. Normally you have to try and go on the outside and hope that you can draw that lead truck back. The fact that Sindone was able to make it down there with about a truck length to spare meant that he timed it perfectly and caught Monty Keller unawares. There you see again, getting forced down there was Pete Sindone. So perfectly legal. He was there. He wasn't below the yellow line until the 028 moved down. And look at the battling all the way to the line. I mean, we're almost 4 wide back there with, I think that was Fergone, Greg Lavelle, Magoo, and I think that might have been RJ Rusty in that vicinity.
I saw someone blow up back there, and I'm not sure who it was.
I think it was the 510, but I'm not certain.
It looked like it was a gray and black truck on my screen. I just couldn't make out the numbers.
Pretty sure it was BSR Steven in the 510 machine.
Well,
as it looks like he ended up not even making it back to the start-finish line, finishing 2 laps down. He was 1 lap down. Yep, it actually was him. He actually made it back down onto pit road.
Well, I mean, that was a great race, a very exciting finish. We knew that bottom would eventually come into play, and boy, did it ever in a big way.
Certainly did, no doubt about that. As Pete Sindone started this race from the 3rd position, really kept it up in the top 5 all race long, but believe it or not, that was the first lap that he led tonight in that one machine, and man, it was the important one.
Well, you gotta feel really bad for the 028 of Monte Keller. 2 Saturdays in a row where he had a chance to get the win, only to be outclassed at the last second by a run or by an incident. Absolutely. Not of his own accord, but you gotta feel bad for that 028. But he had a huge what's the word I'm looking for? He had pretty much a great race that you couldn't even imagine based on his performance tonight. I honestly think that 028 did a really good job, but you can't win them all. And there's no fault with the 028. I mean, he went down. He tried to pinch the one machine, which is what anyone would do. But the one machine was already there and forced him down. You can't do nothing about it. You're forced down. You have to give him the right of way.
Yep, and Sindone just timed it perfectly. He caught him unawares. I think probably Monte Keller was of the same assumption I would have been with that. Probably if the one was going to make a move, it was going to be up on the top side rather than crossing over to the bottom. But still, as you said, Monte Keller, great overall race. Another driver like Sindone, never fell outside of the top 5 all race long. Kept himself up there at the front. And then Lee Hemler making it a close 3-wide battle at the line. This is a driver that had fallen as far down as 14th with about 40 laps to go and was able to battle back for a podium finish.
The words I was actually looking for was a huge way back to redemption for Monte Keller. Like, he struggled last week, and he wasn't struggling to be up near the front, because he was near the front, but you felt so bad for him. And then this race here, he's running around near the front and kind of tapered off a little bit, then comes back and starts leading this race. Huge redemption factor for him. It was really great to see him back up there.
You just kind of get a feeling that he's going to get a win at one of these super speedway races with the consistency we've seen out of him in the last 2 weeks.
Absolutely. He's a driver who I've raced with before, and he knows what he's doing out there. Even though he's really calm, he's back there in mid-pack, he's very quiet, and all of a sudden at the end, he's there.
Have to wonder if John Fergoyne may go back and maybe wonder if he should have been on that inside line for that final restart. He's going to finish in 4th, though. Greg Lavelle's going to be 5th. Magoo in 6th. Matt Stern 7th. RJ Rusty in 8th. I mean, if we look from 6th place on down, these are drivers that up until about 10 laps ago, we didn't give a shot at winning this race. And they got that late race caution. Denny Daniels, he'll finish in 9th place with Terry Scott and Manny D, the last of the drivers finish on the lead lap. 11 in total of 19 that actually finished out tonight's race. But again, it's incredible that you look at last week, we ran 76 laps. We had a number of cautions. We didn't see any green flag pit stops. Here tonight, we did have those 2 early yellows, but then 3 rounds of green flag pit stops, just completely splitting the field up. But you had to know, unpredictable Talladega, that late race caution, and it set us up for a doozy of a finish.
And unfortunately for Brian Willis, he will finish 14th, 1 lap down. And going back to what we were assuming, we assumed that he would be getting the lucky dog based on being the first car lap down that last caution, but I'm not sure the rules. I think it was to the point of we were past the point of giving out the lucky dog. I think that's what happened for him.
So tough break there. Would have been interesting to see if he had actually gotten the lucky dog, what the 68 could have done on that final restart. But nonetheless, let's see if we can get some of our top 3 finishers and get their opinions of that final battle to the line. 3 wide to the start-finish line. We're going to get to talk to all 3 of the participants of that 3-wide battle. Let's kick things off with our third-place finisher, Lee Hemler. Actually, we're going to hold off here. I got to see if I can notify these drivers of their interviews here.
Yeah, that might be good.
All right, let's see if we can get a hold here of Lee Hemler, our third-place finisher. We should be able to talk with him in just a moment here. Almost was able to pull off the victory there. Trying to get that third line
he
going.
would have been a surprise factor if he was able to do that, because I didn't expect him to be there, and he was there out of nowhere.
Yeah, I think he took advantage of the fact that Sindone and Keller, they were more concentrated on not hitting each other or door banging each other to wreck, and then Lee Hemler was taking advantage with that run on the top side with help from John Fergoyan. I believe we do now have our third-place finisher, Lee Hemler. Lee, it's Justin Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Yes, sir. How you doing?
Man, what a finish here tonight at Talladega. I mean, it was kind of looking like maybe, just maybe, the field was going to stay all spread out up to the end of this race, but then that late race caution and that move that you made coming to the start-finish line, do you think you were going to get him? Because you did have the drafting help in that third groove.
I knew it was going to be close to Seth. I mean, I'm shaking. My hands are sweaty and everything. I had such a run, had to take it on the outside 3 wide. That was the only way I thought I could win this stuff. I had such a run.
We ended up seeing pit road play a factor into this race. You guys had to make 3 rounds of green flag pit stops, and we saw even at one point that you ended up losing some track position because of pit road. I mean, how difficult was pit road here tonight in relation to the early stage of the race when you guys were having to concentrate on battling double and 3 wide?
It was really, really difficult, Seth, because actually when I lost my time and position, I actually got a black flag, so I had to come back in pit lane, go back down pit lane one more time. And the second to the last caution flag, I was lucky I didn't get a lap down, and that was where I was able to work my way back up toward the lead, toward the end.
Lee, that was a great performance. The Chick-fil-A Eat More Chicken machine, that's the first time I've ever seen that sponsor in a race on any mod. That's the first time I've ever seen that, and it was great to see that machine get up near the front. But you were mired back for quite a while. I mean, at that point, we saw the inside try to form up a little bit. Everyone wanted that middle groove, that middle line, the high line to go up. Did you ever at any point figure, okay, if we're going to do something, we've got to make this bottom work? I mean, how was it for you?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it was for me, because every time I would get on the low side, it would hold up. Every time I get on the high side, it would hold up. Honestly, I thought about going in the middle a few times, make some room, work my way up there, but like you said, it was difficult on the low side to get backed up and to get around people and stuff. Because everybody was so competitive and everybody was pretty equal setup-wise.
Well, congratulations on a third-place run here tonight, Lee. Was really excited. I mean, we were just watching the battle between the 1-0-28, and then you came from out of nowhere, and I thought, wait a minute, maybe he might be able to get the 2 of them. So tremendous job on making an exciting finish, almost pulling off that win. We're going to now give you the opportunity to shout out some sponsors and do some thank yous.
Yeah, I'd like to thank BSR for coming out and joining the race with us. I'd like to thank ECT. I'd like to thank my teammates, Pete Sindone and John Fagioni. I'd like to thank my family, my friends, God, and thank you guys at FON for putting this race on.
That's Lee Hemler, third place here tonight in the ECT St. Valentine's Day Massacre at Talladega. Once again, congratulations on a great performance there, Lee.
Thank you, bud.
Yes, congratulations, and I want to see more of that Eat More Chicken machine. I got to see more of that.
Oh yeah, you'll definitely see it. You'll definitely see it up in the lead too.
See if we can now get in touch with our second place finisher here, Monty Keller in the 028, who was leading coming off of turn 4, but comes up second place at the start-finish line. I believe we do have him. Monty, it's Justin Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Yep.
Man, I mean, You had to have the largest bumper in the field there on that final lap. I guarantee you were probably looking more in the rearview mirror than you were out the windshield. But talk about the moves being made there off of turn 4. Was there anything you could have done to keep Sindone in your rearview mirror down that front straightaway?
Well, once I lost Greg, I was done. Pete was coming fast on the outside, tried to block him. And I tried to run him down, but I didn't want to run him below the apron, so I gave him a little room. I think that's how he got by me.
Monty, I have to ask you, I've raced with you for a while in different leagues and whatnot, and that one of the last restarts we saw the I believe it was the 95s. I believe it was Diesel go up to the high side or choose the high lane and put you on that bottom. And you had Greg right behind you. When you were on that bottom, were you very confident that's where you needed to be at? That's where you wanted to be at to pass that 95 with Greg right behind you pushing, knowing that you had Magoo and Pete Sindone lined up right behind the 95 on top?
Oh, yeah. I just didn't want to jump it and get a black flag. I knew if I was having good restarts all night. So I was happy he took the top. I told Greg, just, I don't need my back wheels, just push me.
Well, you did a really good job tonight, Monty, and I just don't know what it is about these closing laps that keep taking them away from you for some reason.
Yeah. Always a bridesmaid, never a bride, right? Well, I want to thank ECT and BSR and all them for doing all this. It was a blast.
I got one last question for you here, Monty. We saw a number of drivers, a lot of drivers that were up at the front during those 3 rounds of green flag pit stops run into some issues, some of them having slow pit stops, some of them speeding on pit road, having to come down and serve. You did not have that issue. What was some adjustments that you worked on in practice to make sure if we got into those round of green flag pit stops that you were going to be able to make it safely onto pit road?
I was just going low and just downshift, because you can downshift coming in, so that would slow me down. But on this track, you can barely see the white, so I had to be in the dark color to see my speed. So I had to go low to see the speedometer because it's white. So I just made sure that at the line I was below instead of coming in hot.
Well, Monty, still a great performance for you here tonight. Stayed up inside the top 5 all night long. You do bring it home second place, but a great photo finish nonetheless to be a part of as well. Congratulations on that. We're now going to give the opportunity for some thank yous, some sponsors, and some shout outs.
Just thank you to ECT and BSR and my truck painter, Kyle Green. He always paints me good stuff. And thank Greg for pushing me. I don't know what happened, but he got kind of loose and lost it. But, I did all I could do. That's about it.
Monty, you're going to get one, trust me. Before this year's out, you're going to get one. I have a feeling it's going to happen sooner or later.
No, thanks. Thanks for the interview.
That's Monty Keller. He brings home second place here tonight at Talladega Super Speedway. Once again, congrats on a great run there, Monty. Well done.
Thank you.
And let's now see if we can go down to victory lane with our race winner here tonight. The number 1 finishes P1 of Pete Sindone, and I believe we have him here. Pete, it's Justin Seth up here in the FRN booth. You got us?
Yes, sir. Got you.
We know when it comes to a super speedway, you never know who's going to win the race until you get to turn 4 on the final lap. And even then, you don't even know, as it was a heck of a battle between yourself and that 028 down the front straightaway. But man, not often are we able to see at a Talladega of this type where the middle line is king, that move from the top down to the inside, able to get that advantage to the start finish line. Did you think once you made that move that you had him, or were you hoping maybe you had a drafting partner to keep that momentum up going to the start finish line?
Well, just prior to the move down there, I got a good bump from my teammate, Lee Helmer, and if I'd have stayed where I was, I probably would have wrecked them. Monty would have probably got wrecked. I probably would have wrecked the whole field. But I just, once I got the bump, I slid down as fast as I could, and just the momentum just kept me going. I honestly don't even know who was behind me at that point after I was down there, but I just remember trying to battle in Monty. So, we both made the finish. So, no one got wrecked. That's all I was concerned about.
Pete, congratulations on getting the win. Well deserved, well timed as well. But there was a bit of a issue. There was going toward 10 to go, 14-10 to go. Caution, then another caution came out, and you had a couple thoughts in your mind about how you were going to, proceed at that point on that last restart. At any point in time, with these other drivers coming down pit road, putting on some extra grill tape, changing their setup just a little bit to get a little bit more speed, a little bit more better handling out of it, did you at all worry about anybody else with their grill tape raising it at all, trying to get up near you? Because it just seemed like to me on that last restart, you weren't worried about anybody else, period.
Honestly, no, I wasn't worried. I had a little bit of concern about Denny Daniels. He was right there in front of us, and then just before we were getting ready to go, he darted in for, and he told us he was going for tape. I do not tape. I never did. Maybe I lied once. I taped up, but that's only because my truck was wrecked. I thought I'd try to get the best finish I could, but I really, to be very honest with you, I mean, I came out on that last caution. I don't know how I wind up going back to 8th after being in 3rd, but my truck was hooked. It was hooked and it was going. So, I mean, I told my teammates, if I could push you guys, I will. If I get the opportunity to pass you, I'm going to. So it's just a great bunch of drivers. Guys from BSR and a couple other guys from other leagues that were there with us. It's just a great group of guys. I can't be more happier.
Pete, we ended up having that 3-wide finish there at the end of this race, and a lot of that was because it was just said that late race caution coming out. Let's speculate that caution didn't come out. We ended up having 3 rounds of green flag pit stops, and every time that those were completed, you were still up there inside of that lead group of 5 or 6. If it had come down between you drivers, how difficult would it have been to formulate a strategy to get yourself up to the front there? Because I assume it would take a lot more time to generate a run with only 4 or 5 drivers than it would with having a pack of 10, 15, 20 behind you.
It would have been quite hard, especially with the caliber of drivers we have. I mean, they don't give an inch. You very rarely see a mistake made by these guys. So to be able to get a jump on them or be able to make a move on them, you really got to set yourself up for it. And once I seen it coming out on that last caution and, coming back out onto the track, I said, man, look at these guys. I mean, these are the best of the best. I said, how am I going to get around these guys? I mean, I really need help. And I was talking to my teammates and telling them, listen, guys, we'll do whatever we can do. And however it lays out, it does. But it laid out on our side tonight, and we're happy. I mean, since the last race, we coming down to the end, me and Monty Keller got into a wreck where we were running 2nd and 3rd. And I told him, I said, bro, if it comes down to me and you again, I said, please, let's just continue and go straight. That's all I was concerned about with Monty.
Well, man, Pete, you made the move that was able to get you this victory. It was exciting right down there from turn 4 to the start-finish line. Congratulations. I know you want to go and celebrate this victory, so I'm now going to give you the opportunity for some thank you sponsors and shout-outs.
Yeah, I want to thank YouNeedAPart.com for being a sponsor. They're a primary sponsor on the truck. All-American Auto Wreckers. They're a secondary sponsor on the truck there. I want to thank my teammates, John Forgione, my partner, and Lee Helmer. I want to thank BSR, all the guys there. Definitely big thanks to Magoo and Brian Voiles for the help tonight. The BSR guys, it's just like a bunch of brothers. Great bunch of guys. Always have a lot of fun with them. And I look forward to racing with them all the time. As much as I could. And I want to thank you guys for outstanding job in the broadcasting. I can't wait to see it. But I heard everybody saying that it was outstanding. You guys did a great job, like always. The few that I got to see were great. And that's pretty much it. And I hope to see you, let's put on another race soon and we'll get back here again. Hopefully I can be back up here in first place.
Absolutely.
I would love to call some more races with the BSR and UCT group based on what we've seen, Seth. And once again, Pete, from me to you, congratulations on the win.
Thanks, Jess. Appreciate it very much, bro.
Absolutely. Pete Sindoni, the
Thanks,
one
sir.
truck finishes P1 here tonight. Congrats on a great performance there, Pete. Go enjoy that victory.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it.
Again, we said it coming in. We say it just about every time we have a super speedway race. When it's Daytona, when it's Talladega, you can't look at the race on lap 1. You can't look at it midway through. You can't even look at it at 10 to go because the landscape constantly changes. We had that long streak of, 40, 50 laps of 3 rounds of green flag pit stops, but it came down to a 3-wide battle at the start-finish line for that win because of a late race caution.
And you also got to look at the fact that what was mainly focused on was pitting, because the pit stops is what broke this whole field up, put a number of these guys a lap down, and took them out of contention of actually being up there where drivers such as Diesel, Greg Lavelle, Matt Stern, Denny Daniels, Magoo, Sindone, all these guys were up there battling for this win, and these other ones like Brian Boyles, who else was it, Seth, that was back there? There was a lot of names, Billy Allister, that were lapped down based on that one incident. So for a fact if they get another chance, they're going to be focused on pitting next time a little bit more cautiously, more carefully to get that position that they needed this race.
I know that obviously, track conditions, setup changes, a lot of stuff can vary week after week, but I have to go back because a lot of these names you touched on at the beginning of this race were drivers that we saw in that Polar Bear 200 for BSR last week. With the fact that they did not have a round of green flag pit stops in that race, did that play a factor, do you think, in some of the mistakes here tonight?
Well, there's been a few times where you and I have talked about this off to the side, not for broadcasters, but for races that we've participated in. We know how the pattern's gone. We sit there and say, we know how this happens. We know how this track handles. We know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Were they wondering if it was going to be like every other race that they've done so far, where it's going to be a caution close to pit road, closing, and that stop, nope, caution comes out. So were they already expecting that in their mindset that might happen? Maybe that's what happened, and they weren't really focused on pitting. And then finally, that long green flag run, like you said, it caught them and it nailed and bit. I don't know, what was 10 of these
At
drivers
least,
in,
yeah.
But right there at the end.
Well, no doubt about it. I mean, we knew that pit road in some way, shape, or form, whether it be under caution or whether it be under green, was going to play a factor in this race. When you come into a race as long as this one was 94 laps, you know that pit road as well as the racetrack itself are going to play a factor into the outcome of this one. But when you consider as well the fact that we only had, I believe it was 4 cautions under this 94 lap race, really, really clean race. And again, too, sometimes you end up having races where you have a lot of cautions and a lot of restarts, and like here tonight, you end up having those long green flag pit stops. So you never know what side of the Talladega you're going to get.
But the good thing that was really, really needing to be noted is Greg Lavelle. You had Diesel. You had Danny Daniels. Brian Boyles at one point. There wasn't a dominant performance like we saw last week. It was all over the place. Monty Keller was up front. Sindone led that last lap. I mean, we had multiple lead changes this race, Seth.
I think the driver that led the most laps here tonight led a total of 19. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe that was for going in the 95. However, I think we had about 12 or 13 drivers that, to your point, led laps here tonight. And I believe about 8 or 9 of those were under green flag conditions. So you're right. No real clear dominant truck here tonight. And we even had the lead change twice during those round of green flag pit stops. So definitely not a race where it was one single driver singled out. And Pete Sindone, again, to what you said, he only led that one lap, the final lap. He ran in second, third, fourth, fifth most of the race, but man, he got there to the front when it mattered the most in an incredible three-wide finish between himself, Monty Keller, and Liam Hemmler coming down to that checkered flag. But again, another Talladega race in the books, and again, another race where you have to stick around until the final 100 feet, because even then, coming out of turn 4, we didn't know who was going to win that drag race. We thought, well, it's going to be Monty Keller. Then we thought, well, it's going to be Pete Sindone. But then, hey, here comes Lee Hemmler on the top side. In the end, it's that one truck, and it's why Talladega and Daytona, why it's these super speedway races that everybody seems to love coming to, because you never know who it is that's going to be able to snipe that checkered flag.
Absolutely, and you touched on it. You were talking about like we don't know until the last lap, but at the same time, throughout this whole race, it depends on your game of choice, whether it's risks or chess or checkers or whatever. You have to think strategy from when that green flag drops to where that checkered flag or that white flag comes out, because you're looking at your fuel, you're looking at your tire wear, you're looking at who's around you, you're looking at who's warping, you're looking at which lane's moving, you're looking at how the race is proceeding. And if caution comes out, you have to re-strategize. So their minds are working the whole time, not just the last 5 laps, not the last 50 laps, not when the green flag drops, but it's working all the way through. And then on that last lap, there's so many strategies that go through your mind. Well, if I go this way, he might move up. If I make the move now, could I get up there? And if they don't go with me, if I fall back, could I make the move back up there again? Do I have enough time, etc.? It's just a constant game of strategy all the time.
Well, there may have been no championship on the line. There may have been no points on the line, but Pete Sindone gets to go through the next 12 months saying that he was the winner of the very first annual ECT St. Valentine's Day Massacre special event. So,
well, hey, it's always going to be the first one for him. So you can't really sit there and say, wait till the next one. Well, I mean, he can always sit there and claim the first one.
That's right. He's been there and done that, as he is the winner here tonight at Talladega Superspeedway. What a great race here tonight, and it came down to a 3-wide finish, the photo finishes that superspeedways are known for. Started third, wins this race, and we've still got a lot coming up this week as well, but tonight's race comes to a close at Talladega, and Jess, once again, it's been back-to-back weeks at Talladega. We've been treated to superspeedway racing on back-to-back Saturdays. Appreciate you joining me in the booth again for this one.
Absolutely, and back-to-back, we've had exciting finishes on both sides. If you think about it, we've had a really exciting finish both ways, and wouldn't have it any other way. We've seen a little bit of it all: lap cars, pit stops, cautions, strategy, the outside, inside, 3 wide even, the bottom working finally, that we haven't really seen that's been missing quite often. Green flag runs, which is what we really, really were looking forward to, which stretched out the whole pack, but it was still nonetheless a really great race up, especially at the end of this, and I enjoy being allowed to broadcast with you once again. I mean, I appreciate ECT and BSR with what they've been offering us to come over and be part of the broadcast as well, and I appreciate that as well.
Absolutely. We do appreciate them bringing us on board to be able to broadcast this debut special event for them. Well, folks, we are going to be back for FRN broadcasting next Tuesday, because we're going to give you guys a little bit of a rest to prepare for that one. We're going to get ready for 200 laps at Daytona International Speedway. It's the season opener for Season 2 of the G-Force Vintage Clothing 87 Series, the Daytona 500. Start time going to be at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, since it's going to be a long one, so be sure to set your calendars and set your clocks for that one. That will kick off what's got a lot of events that's going to be coming up during the course of the upcoming next week. But, go ahead, Jess.
I'm wondering, I'm not going to be back for a while until the All-Star race in RTD, am I?
It's going to be a while, I think. I think actually we have, I think next time you and I are going to be calling a race together might be March 3rd, if I'm not mistaken, according to our calendar. Might be something sooner, but we'll have to wait and see. But for one final time, for Jessica Shelton, I'm Seth Cole. Enjoy what's left of your Saturday evening as you've been watching another broadcast here tonight on the Flatout Racing Network. Pete Sindone is your winner in the ECT St. Valentine's Day Massacre at Talladega Superspeedway.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of Flatout Racing Network and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Flatout Racing Network and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. Flatout Racing Network would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.